It's not a game.
Threatening officials, it's not a game.
Berating young umpires, learning the ropes, it's not a game.
Violent language in the stands, it's not a game.
Verbal abuse from the sideline, it's not a game.
Screaming at a referee in the parking lot, it's not a game.
Good afternoon and welcome to the campus of Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology in Terre Haute, Indiana. I'm Galen Clavio along with Jared Thomas, and we're here to bring you today's broadcast of HCAC action as the Rose-Hulman Fightin' Engineers host the Hanover Panthers. Jared, these two teams, both 5-2, coming into this season. A lot of interesting things on the line for both of these squads.
Both records can be a little bit deceiving because as at a 5-2 mark so far this season, a lot more is at stake for Rose-Hulman than is Hanover. And that's just because the two losses for Hanover came in conference play. And that's always tough when you go into a conference play game like this where both teams are very formidable.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Morales Group, building better futures, one story at a time. By Aspen Creek Grill, why go anywhere else for delicious food? By Burtner Electric, providing quality electrical services in central Indiana. By Boilermaker Local 374, second to none in quality and performance. By Clean Slate, inspired innovation that moves businesses forward. By Piper Logistics, from warehousing to transportation and everything in between. And by the Drumstick Dash, presented by Huntington Bank and Wheeler Mission, move your feet so others can eat. Rose-Hulman comes into this game 5-2 overall, as we mentioned, 4-0 in HCAC conference play. They're on a 4-game winning streak coming into this contest. Last week, they travel to Franklin, and they knock off Franklin 50-35. It's really been how this Rose-Hulman team has won games. Offense, offense, offense. They have scored over 40 points in each of their last 4 games. Last week, they were just simply the better team when it came down to being able to put the ball in the end zone.
It starts with a two-headed monster at running back, and that's Grant Ruperta and Jay Smith. And so as we see some highlights from last week's game, once again, that's Grant Ruperta getting into the end zone. That's one of the guys, as a senior, who's going to lead this offensive attack because no team has really shown the ability to stop this running game. And this is why, because when you can't stop the run, you put a little bit more attention in the backfield, and then Miguel Robertson's able to take advantage over the top and find all of those great targets that he has coming out of the backfield and at the receiver position.
Yeah, Rose-Hulman just able to gradually grind down Franklin. Franklin had the lead early, but Rose-Hulman kind of blossomed in that second half of play. Long completion and touchdown there, as you see, going into the end zone for Rose-Hulman. They were just able to keep that pressure throughout the course of the game. Brandon Green with that touchdown there. And again, as we mentioned, the win 50-35 overall. Rose-Hulman needed that win to keep pace with Mount St. Joseph, and they did so. And if they win today, they can clinch a very important berth in the conference championship game.
This is what's been at stake the last few years. Back in 2021, when they made it to the Division III playoffs, they had to beat Mount St. Joseph to do so, and they won that game 58-21. Last year, in a similar position, didn't get the job done. So now everything kind of comes in threes for this Rose-Hulman team. They have another opportunity to just put themselves in position to play Mount St. Joseph and potentially win the conference with the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference, but then also go back to the Division III playoffs.
As far as Hanover's concerned, it's been a pretty good season so far, a bit better than last year. 5-2 overall, 2-2 in conference play. They're 3-1 away from home. Last week they did suffer a loss out at Mount St. Joseph, 52-27. But really, this team has been focused on defense and defensive performance so far on the season, only allowing 16.7 points per game. They've only allowed 15 touchdowns. Their defense has picked off opposing quarterbacks 14 times. Feels like something's got to give between the Rose-Hulman offense and the Hanover defense.
It's going to come down to who can execute and eventually who can play better defense. As you said, Hanover playing magnificent defense coming into today's contest, and they're going to need that effort because with 14 interceptions on your back end, there's going to have to be some give and some take with Miguel Robertson taking advantage of those matchups on the outside.
Hanover not with their full complement of players that they would normally plan on starting. They end up losing their starting quarterback last week early on, Colton Richards. So Ian Rudebush comes in and does pretty well overall, considering that he's a freshman and he wasn't expecting to play that day.
But he hasn't done bad for when he's been in. 61 passing attempts, 67% completion percentage, has thrown 6 touchdowns, but no interceptions. So I know that Coach Theobald and his staff feel confident that Rudebush can come in and give them a spark offensively in a game that they would love to see a win.
Rudebush, 229 yards, 3 touchdowns last week, plus 71 yards on the ground. Another key player for this Hanover squad, Hunter Eads, the senior receiver out of Batavia, Ohio. He had 96 yards and 2 touchdowns last week.
One of the reasons I feel that he has a lot of success at the receiver position, because in high school at West Clermont back in Batavia, Ohio, he was a quarterback. So as a quarterback, you understand where the receivers are supposed to be. So he's just kind of flipped the coin a little bit, and now he's the receiver providing a very, very reliable target for his quarterback to take advantage, and we see why, because he's leading the team in receiving.
You can see Rose-Hulman getting ready to come onto the field, standing in the end zone, preparing for their grand entrance. The cheerleaders on the field as well. It's an interesting day from a weather perspective. We're right on the borderline of fall really taking over, but it's a really nice day out here. The leaves changing colors on the trees. 54 degrees right now at kick. Probably going to get up to about 60, 61. Overcast skies, no rain in the forecast. That's pretty good football weather.
And this is what you get in the state of Indiana around this time. This is where that football kind of mantra comes into play, especially for a team playing in Terre Haute. It's very gloomy, not a lot of people traveling to the game, but this is what it's about. When the weather gets a little bit nippy and you have to take care of the ball, you have to do all of the little things, because weather can't be a factor, because if it is, that's when you get off the slow starts.
It's always amazing how the weather changes from the start of the season when it's 85, 90 degrees outside and you're playing in that heat to now where it's pretty comfortable. A month from now, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable overall in terms of the temperatures. Rose-Hulman getting set to lead themselves onto the field here. The captains getting the team fired up and ready to go. Miguel Robertson, one of those captains, and as the cannon is fired, Rose-Hulman makes their entrance into the middle of the field. Hanover already out there. We'll take a break and come back with the start of this game here from Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. Stick with us.
At Morales Group Staffing, we are all about building better futures. And during these times, we are working hard to put people to work. We are now hiring for hundreds of jobs with pay up to $17 an hour. Visit our website at moralesgroup.net or text JOBS, JOBS, to 317-472-7600 to apply now and get hired today.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
And that's our national anthem. We're back here at Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. Galen Clavio, Jared Thomas joining you on this call. Thank you for tuning in today as we get set for this HCAC conference matchup between Hanover and Rose-Hulman. The captains will come out on the field here in just a second, and we'll get this thing underway. We talk a little bit about this Rose-Hulman squad and some of the statistics that they've been able to rack up so far offensively, and you got to start with Grant Ruperta, the running back for this team, second in the HCAC in rushing yards, 703 so far on the season. He has been hard to bring down for opponents.
He has a unique combination of balance, but also some agility to him as well. So when he breaks through the line of scrimmage, he's strong enough to bounce off of tacklers, but then elusive enough to make you miss, and then also just finds himself in the end zone time and time again. And for a Division III guy running for almost 705 yards, 703 I believe is the mark, as you said, closing in on 1,000 yards for a season, I think is pretty remarkable. And he put up some big time numbers last year, and he's probably a few carries away from even hitting the same amount of attempts that he had last year. So that's pretty remarkable, but then also a credit to the offensive line paving the way for Ruperta to do some damage.
One of the captains that you can see on your screen right now, Miguel Robertson, the quarterback, he has also been outstanding. The senior out of Petaluma, California, leading the HCAC in passing efficiency with a 172.2 mark. He's got almost 1,300 yards in conference play. He's thrown 19 touchdowns. That's second in conference play. When it hasn't been Ruperta or Jay Smith, it's been Miguel Robertson for this Rose-Hulman team.
The comma on that statement about 19 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions. That's almost a 4-to-1 ratio when you talk about creating offensive touchdowns, but then also not giving the ball to the other team. And I have to believe that this is a great way for Rose-Hulman to feel good going into games, knowing that their quarterback is not going to give the ball to the other team, and they're always going to be in the game.
It's helpful for Miguel Robertson that he has such a wealth of receiver targets to throw to. Obviously, it kind of goes back and forth with this squad if you've watched them all season. Some days it's Jalen Hobbs, who has been outstanding, the senior out of Spring Lake, North Carolina. Sometimes it's Daniel Hury, the senior out of Katy, Texas. They both played awesome so far for Rose-Hulman, and a lot of times when one gets covered or is having a bad game, the other one's just able to pick it right up.
For Jalen Hobbs, he has to thank Daniel Hyrie, because last year Daniel had 6 games over 100 yards, almost 1,000 yards receiving. Once again, getting up close to 1,000-yard mark in any season is very remarkable. So he was a preseason All-American coming into this season. So Jalen Hobbs, with a lot of attention going to Daniel Hyrie, said, okay, I'm going to take the opportunity to make my impact on these games.
These two teams getting set to match up here, and it will be Hanover with the opening kick. Pedro Payajo going to put his foot into this one. Rose-Hulman will start off receiving the ball. They'll move left to right here, or from west to east, depending on how you'd like to orient yourself. And we're set to go. Payao approaches the ball, and we are underway. Receiving this kick and bringing it forward is Hobbs. He has a little bit of a lane. He breaks back to his right. He's got on his feet and finally taken down at about the 40-yard line. That's how you want to get a game started off. Jalen Hobbs puts the afterburners on.
When you're Jalen Hobbs, yes, you make your most impactful plays on the offensive side of the ball, but last year he was the special teams player of the year in the HCAC, and we see exactly why. Just the track speed that he has. This is a two-sport athlete and an All-American at that. So he's showing home run hitting ability with his legs, and why he just adds so much value to this Rose-Hulman team.
Some excellent blocking by the special teams of the Fighting Engineers on that as well. So Rose-Hulman comes out in Hanover territory for the first snap of the game. And it is Ruperta, and he is still on his feet and drives forward for about 8 yards.
This is going to be a point of emphasis for this Hanover defense. They have to understand that Rose-Hulman is going to run the ball. If you can figure out a way to eliminate the run game, you put yourself in an advantageous situation to make this game competitive.
Robertson will flare it out here, pick up the first down easily, and Rose-Hulman already inside the Hanover 30.
It must be nice for Miguel Robertson to be able to pick his poison and who he wants to go to. He has Hobbs, he has Hirey, and then he has Brandon Green, who had a couple of touchdowns last week, so a lot of offensive firepower for the Fighting Engineers.
Handoff to Ruperta. Nice penetration by the Hanover defensive line, but it doesn't matter as Ruperta able to skip through that and pick up about 4.
One of the defensive linemen for Hanover I look at is number 99. And that's Noah Caswell. This is a guy in the middle of that defensive line that didn't play a year ago and allowed Ruperta to go for almost 205 yards. So look for him to be impactful today.
Quick snap, and Robertson gets the throw off, and it is, once again, Daniel Curie, the senior out of Katy, Texas. He's got 2 catches so far and another first down for the Fighting Engineers.
I got an opportunity to play with a couple of guys that are from Katy, Texas. And if there's anywhere in America where real football is played, it is definitely in Katy, Texas.
The Wellspring. Quick handoff to Ruperta, and he will rumble forward for about 4. Not a lot of resistance being offered so far by this Hanover defense.
Partially because of the tempo that Rose-Hulman is going at right now. When you go so fast, a lot of times as a defensive staff and defensive players, you don't even have time to adjust. You're just worried about getting lined up and just taking on some type of semblance of resistance.
Be 2nd and 6. Robertson hands off, and Ruperta directs his blocker in front of him, and he's able to pick up a couple off of what could have been a loss there. Nice job. I liked how he grabbed Justin Pearson and kind of shoved him the direction he wanted the block to happen.
Which I think is important. A lot of running backs like to get ahead of their blockers. You have blockers for a reason. It's to make your job easier. So I like Ruperta's gamesmanship to guide that blocker to do exactly what he needed to do to set up the block and take it over from there.
Brandon Green comes in, replacing Aiden Sturgeon. So the wide receiver heavy set here on 3rd and 5. Robertson going to look, and he'll find Ruperta out of the backfield. He'll get taken out of bounds right around first down yardage. And I think he got it. They'll wave it forward. So 1st and goal here for Rose-Hulman.
This whole drive set up by Jalen Hobbs' kickoff return.
Robertson trips left. He'll roll that direction, looking for Curie in the corner, and he can't quite pick him out. The pass was there, but that was a tough angle for Daniel Curie to try to get his hands around.
Going against the grain a little bit as a right-handed quarterback rolling out to the left with some sprint out action. Great setup by the outside receivers, getting Hirey to the flat. Just the ball a little bit out of reach.
Substitution made by Hanover. They've got too many men on the field right now. They'll finally bring the errant player off there. And so we'll get a snap right to Ruperta, and he's taken down in the backfield. Really nice penetration there. That coming from Jamie Deckard, the senior out of Bedford.
As a linebacker, you have to love being down in the red zone because you don't have so much zones to drop back to, and you can react a little bit more because you don't have so much field to defend. And Jamie Deckard just taking advantage of the blitz off the edge, and Ruperta taking a little bit too much time to set up that run.
It's suddenly 3rd and goal. Rose-Hulman stalling a bit. Now here's the throw, and Ruperta going to be taken down nicely there by Justin Williamson, tackled well behind the line of scrimmage, and that's going to lead to a field goal attempt.
No need to be passive in this part of the game. Yes, you gave up a big kick return. Yes, your offense for Rose-Hulman got into scoring position, but a little bit of resistance there by the Hanover defense. As you said, only giving up 16 points per game, and we see why. When it's time to react and make a play, they do exactly that.
They definitely needed to stiffen there after very permissive defense for a few down sequences. So we'll get the field goal attempt coming now from the Fighting Engineers. It's up, and it's good. 3-0. Rose-Hulman leads. We'll be back right after this.
At Morales Group Staffing, we are all about building better futures. And during these times, we are working hard to put people to work. We are now hiring for hundreds of jobs with pay up to $17 an hour. Visit our website at moralesgroup.net or text JOBS, JOBS, to 317-472-7600 to apply now and get hired today.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium. Galen Clavio, Jared Thomas here on RHIT.TV coverage of HCAC conference action. Rose-Hulman and Hanover on a beautiful fall day leading into the Halloween week here in Indiana. Kickoff by Jonathan Olinger, and this will be fielded by Brody Luker. Cuts back to his right, now tries to go left, and hemmed in nicely there by Rose-Hulman at about the 23-yard line. And that's where we'll see Hanover with their first effort of the game. The lineup here for Hanover, you can see, as we mentioned, Hunter Eads, a key member of this team. Jalen Peck, another player to keep an eye out for. And, of course, Ian Rodebush with his brother, Eric Rodebush, split out wide. That's an interesting combination to keep an eye on. Pass off the hands there of, that looked like Brody Luker. And, pardon me, that was Michael Gordon for Hanover. It'll be second down and 10. Defensive lineup here. This has been a defense that has certainly had its moments throughout the course of the season. Wyatt Bell making a lot of really good plays throughout the season. Peyton Gernemitz is a name that we've mentioned quite often. Handoff here, and it will be about a 5-yard gain for Austin Opel from Bradenburg, Kentucky.
Going back to your point about Grinowitz, in our game that we had against Anderson, it seemed like he just resided in Anderson's backfield. And he just found a way to always be in the backfield, making timely plays. And I think it's because of his closing speed. So they'll need that, especially with all the motion and eye deception that Hanover likes to do in their offensive attack.
Key early sequence here for Hanover, as they would probably not want to go 3 and out after that initial drive. Little rush on here, and the throw complete and out of bounds. Nice toss there to Hunter Eads. He picks up the first down for Hanover.
Going back to that stab motion that a lot of these NFL teams, especially the Miami Dolphins, we see Rodebush go out, just clear out that little safety right there, opens up that zone right for Hunter Eads to take advantage. First down, keeping the chains moving.
Panthers with their first down of the game. And we will see Rodebush out of the shotgun. Fakes the handoff, keeps it himself, and he will be taken down. Nice little 5 or so yard gain there. It's been something that we've seen, feels like more of in football at all levels over the last 5 years. People really want a running quarterback where you give the defense something extra to think about.
And I think there's a fine line between having a quarterback that can run and a running quarterback that can pass. And I think teams want to have a quarterback that can make plays happen with their legs, make defenders miss, like we just saw Rodebush do.
That was really
on
impressive.
That play.
Yeah, Rodebush, he got a dekes in the backfield as he had a Rose-Hulman defender bearing down on him, and he's able to scramble for another first down.
Rose-Hulman defensive lineman just running scot-free. You get an opportunity to make a play in the backfield, and you end up on your knees.
Rodebush going to air this one out. He's got a man open, but he overthrows him. Oh, Jalen Peck streaking uncovered down the middle of the field, but a little too much oxygen under that ball. It'll be second down.
I don't want to be quick to assume, but it looked like Jalen Peck's eyes were going toward the middle of the field. It could be a situation where chemistry between a starter and the receivers is a little bit different than a backup. We saw Rodebush on that play throw the ball to the outside away from where Peck's eyes were. So unfortunate not taking advantage of that opportunity, but all it takes is a little communication to get everyone on the same page.
So second down and 10 for the Panthers. Fake handoff, and now Rodebush will try to toss that one. Interesting designed rollout run there, but nicely broken up. And on that play, that was Ryan Schmidt, the strong safety from Katy, Texas.
Katy, Texas just finding its way in our broadcast early. But on that play, as you said, interesting play design. It's really just an extension off of the RPO scheme. The pass option doesn't necessarily have to go down the field on that one. The quarterback and Rodebush just finding his way to the perimeter, getting it to his brother. Not so happy on that one, but it was a very interesting play design, as you mentioned.
Third down and 10. Rose-Hulman looking for a stop on this drive, and now Rodebush going to scramble to his right. He stays on his feet, and he gets the first down and a little bit more inside the 30.
Going back to that trend about the last 5 years of football, there's this trend that on 3rd and long or 3rd down, when a team runs the ball, it usually means they're going to go for it on 4th down.
Well, now it looks like they did not get the first down. We could not see from this angle. Apparently, Rodebush stepped out at about the 34. So 4th down and 2. Hanover going to keep the offense on the field, and we'll get our first 4th down attempt of the game. Call comes in from the sideline. Play clock at 5. Snap taken, handoff, and into the maw of the defense there. I don't think he got it. Looks like Rose-Hulman was able to stop progression of the running back there, a yard short of the first down, and that's indeed what happens. Rose-Hulman holds. It'll be 1st and 10, Fighting Engineers at the 32.
Interesting play call to just go right into the scrum of the defense. I imagine that Coach Theobald and his offensive staff saw something that they wanted to take advantage of, and maybe even a letdown because Rodebush, I felt like got the first down, but maybe stepped out a yard early. Nonetheless, don't execute on 4th down and giving another offensive drive to the Fighting Engineers.
So Rose-Hulman takes over, and Hanover going to set up in their standard defensive formation. Robertson rolls out, and he'll toss this out to Hobbs, who gets shoved out of bounds after about a 7-yard gain.
There's so many dynamics that go into playing with tempo. It obviously speeds up the defense to get their calls in quicker, but even sometimes not even getting a chance to adjust on the fly. The other thing is if you can turn that tempo into points, it forces the other team to play at a pace that they maybe not be comfortable with.
Now Robertson fakes the handoff to Ruperta, and he will toss this out for a first down and a little bit more to Daniel Hury. Up to the 45-yard line of Rose-Hulman, and they move the chains once again. Offensive lineup, we didn't get a chance to do this on the first drive, but Rose-Hulman, obviously with Miguel Robertson, Grant Ruperta, Jalen Hobbs, Daniel Hury, just loaded with skill position talent, and the offensive line's played pretty well too. Here's Robertson. He'll connect over the middle to Daniel Hury, the senior, having a breakout game so far in this one, down to the 34.
Daniel Hury and Jalen Hobbs are essentially the same player. If they flip-flop numbers, I don't think you would be able to tell. And this is exactly why. We see the speed getting in front of the defensive back, making the catch. It's just the quickness that they both have in their routes and then their playmaking ability after the catch.
Here's Hury on a little behind-the-line toss, picks up a couple of yards, functionally the same as a plunge into the middle. Defensive lineup here for Hanover. And a really interesting defense, as we talked about, really anchored by several upperclassmen who have played pretty well throughout the course of this season, a defense only allowing about 17 points per game. Here's Ruperta, looked like a face mask, and indeed a flag going to come in there, as I believe we'll get a 15-yarder tacked on to the end of this run.
One of the strengths of this Hanover defense is David Wall Jr., the defensive end. 6.5 sacks coming into today's contest. But the only downside that we've seen in this game thus far, you don't actually get a chance to rush the passer when they're going so quickly, getting the ball out of Robertson's hands like they've done so far.
They're going to wave off the flag, which I'm a little surprised by. It looked pretty clear like there was a helmet tug there, although maybe they're saying he didn't actually get the face mask, but just the inside of the helmet. So 3rd and 2 now for Rose-Hulman, and that actually slowed them down a little bit from the tempo you were mentioning. Here's the faked handoff to Ruperta, and a dropped pass there. Not a great pass, a bit behind Hury, and now a 4th down decision here for Rose-Hulman.
It can feel like fool's gold for the Fighting Engineers when you're operating so efficiently, but you only have 3 points to show for it. They've gotten down to the scoring territory in both of their drives, and depending on what happens here, it can almost seem like they were for naught because they haven't turned them into legitimate points via touchdowns.
Ball's at the 26, still a little bit outside of field goal range here, so they'll go for it. Hand off to Ruperta. He'll pick it up easily and then some down to the 19, 18-yard line. And Rose-Hulman continues to roll forward here offensively, and you can see here Ruperta, once he gets ahead of steam, just hard to bring down.
I want people to pay attention to how the linebackers for Hanover are so close to the line of scrimmage. This eliminates the offensive line's ability to double team with one another up to linebacker levels. The only problem is if you shoot the gap as a linebacker, you give up big plays like they did on that 4th down.
Ruperta continues to churn forward, gets down to about the 15. Blocking's really been excellent so far for this Rose-Hulman offense when it comes to the running game.
Yes, it does. And as an offensive line, you love this game plan. You know that your offensive coordinator is going to call run plays. It allows you to feast early in the game, which ultimately builds your confidence when it comes time to pass protect later in the game, if it comes to that.
4 wide receivers, now a rolled out for Robertson, and he'll look to Hury in the corner of the end zone, and it's knocked away. Not sure if he would have brought that in regardless, but a nice job by Justin Williamson to break that pass up.
So far, we're seeing a tip of the cap by the Fighting Engineers to this defense. They understand that for Hanover, this is probably the strength of their team. So they don't want to get into this battle where it comes down to the defense making plays, forcing this to be a lot closer game than I'm assuming that the Fighting Engineers would like.
3rd down, and little toss here to Hury. Hury's got some room down to the 4, and he's finally taken down there. Little kind of quasi-shovel pass there to Daniel Hury, but it gets the job done. 1st and goal, Fighting Engineers.
As an offense, if you're going to decide to attack the perimeter of a defense that's very formidable on the inside, you have to have adjustments off of the sprint out. And this is exactly that. You get it to one of your playmakers in Hury, and you allow him to do the rest. We've seen that sprint out action 3 or 4 times this far, and they come back with a counter.
Engineers, handoff, Ruperta looking for a hole, taken down at about the 1.5. He had to change direction there. Nice job on the tackle. Looked like Brody Luker in there. Kind of a new pal heavy roster for this Hanover squad. They've got several players from the Dragons team.
It's not a bad place to pick your talent from because New Palestine is a formidable team in high school football that have churned out some great talent throughout the years.
Handoff to Ruperta, and he will get into the end zone. Touchdown, Fighting Engineers. Kind of a delayed call there as the officials were waiting to see if his knee had stayed off the ground, but Grant Ruperta back in the end zone once again.
Just give it to number 6 when you get into the red zone. That's exactly what this offense has done this year. And anytime they got around that goal line situation, goal line instances, they've gone to Ruperta and it's paid off.
Grant Ruperta's 7th rushing touchdown of the season. And the extra point coming up and good. 10-0. Rose-Hulman leads Hanover. We'll be back right after this.
At Morales Group Staffing, we are all about building better futures. And during these times, we are working hard to put people to work. We are now hiring for hundreds of jobs with pay up to $17 an hour. Visit our website at moralesgroup.net or text JOBS, JOBS, to 317-472-7600 to apply now and get hired today.
We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at IndianaSRN. Find upcoming games, video highlights, and much more. Follow us now at IndianaSRN.
Welcome back to Terre Haute, Indiana. Galen Clavio, Jared Thomas joining you here as Rose-Hulman takes on Hanover. It's 10-0. Fighting Engineers leading. And we're ready for the kickoff. Pretty rapidly moving first quarter thus far, 4:28 remaining. Kick coming down. And a nice job on this return by Michael Gordon out of Nashville, still on his feet, and he will eventually be brought down at the 40-yard line.
Michael Gordon has something to say about special teams through the complexity of this game because earlier this season, after their win against Manchester a couple of weeks ago, he got Special Teams Player of the Week with the second half 80-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So, yes, we're going to talk about Hobbs and his magnificent play in special teams, but I'm sure Gordon's going to have something to say by the end of this one.
Hanover offense out for their second possession of this contest. They were decently inside Rose-Hulman territory last time, but failed on a fourth down conversion. Questionable throw there as a little over the head of Jalen Peck and bounces out of bounds. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Back to that RPO action. Now 0 for 2, running that type of concept, but I think it's there. So I would encourage Hanover to continue to call it. The first time, the ball got batted down. The second time, the ball was high. Go back to it a third time. Usually, good things happen on the third attempt.
Rudebush alone in the backfield. He'll swing this one out a little bit behind his receiver and nicely taken down there. Wyatt Bell, the freshman out of River Falls, Wisconsin, makes the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. The idea was there, but Austin Opel just had someone right in front of him on that pass.
Opel has 543 scrimmage yards coming into today. 220 of them are receiving. So anytime we see any type of motion from him going out into the flat or any type of receiving type routes, there has to be high alert by this Fighting Engineer defense.
So it'll be 3rd and 13, and Rodebush getting the call in here from the sideline as the clock continues to run. Drops back, steps up, lofts it over the middle, complete, and that'll be 1st down yardage. He finds Mason Williams, the junior out of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, and Hanover finds a way to move the chains.
It's Peyton Grinowitz getting oh so close to coming down with a sack. He was probably just a half a step away from making a big-time play, maybe causing a sack fumble. But a good job by Ian Rudebush stepping up in the pocket, finding his target down the field.
Now, Rudebush, for a freshman, a lot of poise in the pocket to be able to step up and keep sighting down the field for that receiver. So Hanover in a bunched-up formation here on 1st and 10, right around midfield. Fake handoff, now looking down the field. He's got a man streaking, and he couldn't find him. Now Rudebush rolls out, stays on his feet, and he's dragged down just a bit shy of the 1st down marker. But, man, he had a receiver streaking down the field there with nobody on him. That was Hunter Eads, and a good job by the defensive line of Rose-Hulman to not give him the time to sight that receiver.
You're exactly right. Hunter Eads was streaking down the field wide open. Just unfortunate not seeing the connection from his quarterback, Rudebush.
That pass over the head of Jalen Peck, not a bad idea, but targeting wasn't quite there. So it'll be 3rd down and 2.
Hanover has to feel confident. Yes, they're down 10-0 in this first quarter, but it's not because that Rose-Hulman is doing something better than them. They've also executed and got on the plus side of the 50 in both of their offensive drives. A lack of execution on 4th down in their first drive. Have to change the complexity of this a little bit, get some points in some regard.
Rudebush with the call. 2 wide receivers split off to the near side. Now he'll motion his man out of the backfield and pressured. Nice throw over the middle. Rudebush got popped in the backfield, but it'll be a 1st down as he completes it to Mason Williams once again.
So many options for this Hanover offense, which is why I think this is going to be a great game for the rest of this contest, because both offenses can score points. It's just going to come down to defense and who can get stops.
Little trips formation here on this side, and now a fake pass off as he takes the R in the RPO, but doesn't pick up much. Minimal gain, 2nd down and 10.
Has to be a welcome sight for Hanover and this Panther team, seeing Blake Huffman get back into the action. Only played in the first 3 games this year, 179 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Has been out for the last few games. We're back, adding another layer to this offensive attack.
Rudebush tosses it over the middle, and taken down and driven out of bounds is his brother, Eric Rudebush, the senior. Pretty nicely built for a wide receiver, 6'4", 205. Not necessarily built for speed, and they're going to need some speed on this particular play as it's 3rd down and long.
No need for speed when you have a 6'4" target. It's hard to miss 6'4", especially when he's over in the middle, making plays in the intermediate part of the field.
Rudebush rolls out to his right. Nobody there. He'll try to squeeze through now, and he gets pummeled, and I think he dropped the ball, but they're going to say down. So minimal, if any, gain on that. I'm not sure what they were doing with that as they rolled Rudebush out to the right. There were no receivers down on that side of the field.
It's all instincts by the Fighting Engineer defensive line. They sniffed the screen out, not even allowing Huffman to get out and find an easy access point for his quarterback to find him. That's just heads-up play by the defensive front, sniffing that screen out.
So 4th and 8. We'll see Hanover going for it here. Motion for Eads. Snap. Tossed over the middle and pulled in. And they're going to give him the catch. That's a first down and a really nice pull in there by Kirby and Shelby, the freshman out of Indianapolis.
Shelby understands when you're going against a defensive backfield, they never want anyone crossing their face. He does a good job setting the route outside just to go inside and diving for the first down catch.
Shelby's first catch now tossed over the middle. Oh, what a great pass breakup there. Jumping in, Wyatt Bell, the freshman, breaks that one up, and that'll end the first quarter of play. Hanover driving, but Rose-Hulman leading 10-0. Fighting Engineers here at Cook Stadium. We'll be back right after this.
My name is Brittany. A little thing I love about the Egg White Grill is the toasty English muffin. It's toasted perfectly. It's just a little crispy, but not like hard crispy, but just crispy enough that when you bite into it, everything is perfect.
My name is Curtis, and I love the Egg White Grill because the egg itself, it's like soft and fluffy, like a pillow. I wouldn't eat my pillow, but I'd eat the Chick-fil-A breakfast egg white sandwich for sure.
They say nice guys don't finish first. So maybe it's time to reconsider what it means to be first.
It's about being your best, but knowing you could be even better.
It's being present, but respectful of history.
You sure you want to make that move?
It's donating something more valuable than money.
It's believing in yourself and something bigger.
It's coming from different families, but treating each other like brothers.
It's not just being a man, it's being a Mason.
Welcome back to Terre Haute, Indiana. Cook Stadium here on the campus of Rose-Hulman. Galen Clavio, Justin Thomas joining you for this HCAC contest. Hanover looking for the end zone, and it's almost picked off. Stefan Pugh drops that one as it falls through his hands. Good defense there, and it'll be 3rd down and 10 as we get this second quarter started.
Another PBU by this defensive backfield of the Fighting Engineers. Rudebush gives his receiver a chance to make a play. DB goes to bat the ball down. I would like to see him maybe try and go for the interception. Does the safe thing, which is always better. It's better to be safe than to be sorry.
Nice job being locked up on Hunter Eads there, too. And probably the best receiver by numbers on this Hanover squad. Here's the toss, corner of the end zone, wide open, touchdown, Panthers. Breaking outside, Michael Gordon, the sophomore out of Nashville, Tennessee, pulls that one in. Really nicely designed play by Hanover.
It's just an understanding, once again, by the Hanover receivers. Where are the weak points in the zone coverage? Clearly a cover 2 look, but that inside safety just a little too far leveraged inside, giving up that vulnerable spot in that back corner of the end zone. Gordon does the rest, gets in the end zone offensively.
Pedro Paichao out here to kick this field goal, extra point, but flags down. I think there might have been some movement here for Hanover. Conversation being had here between the officials. And a false start called there. That one maybe whistled on 58 for Hanover, which is not on the roster in front of us here. That is going to be Christian Wilkerson. So it pushes the extra point attempt back 5 yards. And Pachau with the extra point up, and it's good. 10-7 the score. Hanover back on the scoreboard. We'll take a break and come back right after this.
Anxious over algebra? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at AskRose.org. Confused by chemistry? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at AskRose.org.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium. RHIT.TV coverage of Rose-Hulman football. Another HCAC conference matchup. So far, pretty even game between these two squads. Hanover with 6 first downs, Rose-Hulman with 7. And yardage overall almost equal. 104 yards from this Hanover offense, 99 yards from the Rose-Hulman offense. It's been a pretty good game so far.
We've seen decisiveness from both squads. For Rose-Hulman, they're saying we're going to go fast and not give this defense a chance to build us some steam and make some plays. We've seen Hanover do the opposite. We're going to take our time. We're going to go for it on 4th down because we trust that we're going to stay in the game and score touchdowns.
So kickoff coming here from the Panthers. Starting to brighten up a little bit here in Terre Haute. This one bounces at about the 15 and then fielded by Hury. He'll dance through a couple of tacklers and all the way out close to the 40-yard line. You like to see that if you're Rose-Hulman. Some really nice starting position to start with here. You can see this touchdown play from before, just a nice corner route and a good job by, as you said, sniffing that defense out and going where the defenders weren't going to be.
Didn't look like a whole lot of anticipation by the safeties for the Fighting Engineers. Looked like man coverage there, and Gordon had the safety just kind of backpedaling a little bit too much, playing on his heels. And he made it look easy, just gliding out to the back corner for the touchdown, getting his teammates on the board.
Robertson takes the snap, and he will fake the handoff, and that was a pretty slow developing play, and a nice job by Justin Williamson to break that up as Robertson was trying to find Jalen Hobbs.
I know for sure that Williamson already has 2 PBUs in this game in the first few minutes of play. And on that one, he could have had himself an interception. A dangerous throw by Robertson. Good closing speed by this backfield for Hanover, which is a highlight for their defense. 14 interceptions coming into today. We see why.
Another throw here, completed. Green going to be driven out of bounds. Got an 8-yard completion there. Tackle delivered by Jenkins, so another 3rd and short here for Rose-Hulman. Call in from the sideline. It's Jay Smith, it appears, in the backfield for Rose-Hulman. Handoff and a first down going to be picked up by the sophomore from Evansville. It's been a great 1-2 punch. Jay Smith and Grant Ruperta, we've talked about it already on this broadcast, but you knew he was going to get in at some point. Here he is in the second quarter.
I just asked going into the last commercial if he was playing today because I know that Grant Ruperta does some damage, but with about 50 to 60% workload of Ruperta, Jay Smith does his job very, very well in addition.
So first down here at midfield. Smith has to juke outside, still picks up a couple of yards. Maybe 2nd down and 6. Rose-Hulman, one of the beauties of this offense, as we talked about, they can really hurt you in a number of ways, and when one thing stops working, they've done a good job throughout the season of rotating over. Rushing game isn't working, we're going to pass the ball, and vice versa.
In their 2 losses this year, they just haven't got clicking offensively, either way too late in the game, or they just never got clicking at all.
Robertson airs it out, he's got Jalen Hobbs, touchdown, Fighting Engineers, what a play.
But when you can do things like that, it makes everything a lot easier. Robertson knows that if he throws it to a spot, he has the speed at receivers that guys like Jalen Hobbs will run underneath that. He was double covered, and all he did was split the double coverage, run underneath the ball, showing us that All-American track speed and getting another touchdown on the board for the Fighting Engineers.
Great patience by Miguel Robertson, the senior quarterback. He knew that he had him if he gave him a little bit of extra time. And sure enough, Jalen Hobbs, who's had a wonderful year so far for Rose-Hulman, gets in position. And another touchdown for Rose-Hulman. Extra point up and good. We'll take a break and come back. It's 17-7. Rose-Hulman leads.
Can't get to a computer? Then we've got you covered. Just go to the IndianaSRN app and stay up to date with all of your favorite teams. You can watch live coverage or relive the experience with our on-demand service.
Back at Cook Stadium, 17-7. Rose-Hulman leading Hanover, and Jonathan Oliger about to kick this one off. As we're back to action here, 13-16 remaining in the second quarter of play. High end over end. This will come down to Michael Gordon, and he'll let it bounce into the end zone for a touchback. Let's take a look at that touchdown throw.
When you run the 100-meter, 200-meter, the 4x1, the 60-meter, we see exactly why. Just separation at the top of the route, which is very hard to do. But also you have to be in good cohesion with your quarterback, as Robertson, and we've seen his receivers do so much this year. Robertson throws it to a spot, trusting that his guys will get there. And honestly, if I was playing quarterback, I would too, because that track speed coming from the receiver position, man, I'd be throwing it all over the yard just like Robertson.
He's got a wealth of targets to go to, as you mentioned. Jalen Hobbs and Daniel Hury, they're both 5'8", they're both speedsters. They both have played excellent football so far this season. First play of this Hanover drive, and breaking free is Austin Opal down the field, 40 to the 30 to the 20, and he's knocked out of bounds there. Hanover not giving up yet. They jump right back into it, and I don't know what happened to Rose-Hulman's defense there, but Hanover certainly took advantage.
It's vision. Just watch the cutback right here. Sticks his foot in the ground, sees the opening, does the rest. And another key to that play was Rudebush carrying out the fake, potential on the keep, which drags the defender out, opening that gap even more. Opal does the rest.
Rudebush will hand it off to Opal once again. He'll squirt through the line, picks up about 5. Well, very important for Hanover here. They've got to keep in this game. They clearly are going to have to score and match score for score what Rose-Hulman's doing.
And I think they've done that so far. 3 for 3, getting into the plus side of the scoring territory. And I know they feel confident to score points because they've done it so far this year. So they understand that they're going to have to do that today, especially with so much at stake for the Fighting Engineers.
Second down and 6. Rudebush fakes the handoff. He'll keep it himself, and he is brought down by Peyton Gernowitz, who was right there on that play. It's one of the concerns when you run your quarterback. You don't want him to take too much damage, and that was a kind of a hard hit there.
At 6 foot, 200 pounds, I'm sure that Rudebush can take a little bit more beating than most quarterbacks that don't have the same stature. But I don't want to say that Rudebush is better than the starter, because that wouldn't be fair to Colton Richards not even being able to be here to defend himself in gameplay. But I know that with Richards, he's not much of a mobile quarterback in running the ball. He can, but I think Rudebush offers a better option when it comes to putting his head down and getting some first down.
Rudebush in the pocket, tries to throw the back of the end zone. Oh, what a catch! Touchdown, Hanover! Pulled in by his brother, Eric Rudebush, right off of the shoelaces. I don't know how he pulled that one in, but what a throw and what a catch.
It's called backyard football with your brother. And I'm sure they did a lot of that going to New Pal, being from New Palestine, Indiana. And this is exactly why. This is a shoestring catch by Rudebush in the back of the end zone. Only one touchdown coming into today's contest. Rudebush, his brother, threads the needle, and his brother said, "I got you, bro."
Extra point is blocked and picked up, and this can be returned, but finally brought down. A little bit of an excitement there as the block coming. I didn't see who got the initial block there, but 17-13, those points could come in really important later on, as now it's still a 4-point win. Let's go ahead and check out this touchdown here.
It's so important for all quarterbacks to throw the ball where only their receivers can go catch it. And that's exactly what we saw in the Rudebush connection, right in the breadbasket. And we see a sliding grab, almost a baseball slide, and just extending his hands, bringing in another touchdown.
We'll take another look at that, as Wyatt Bell had pretty good coverage on that. I mean, that was a covered receiver, and yet able to snake it in there. And, I mean, I don't know what was better, the throw or the catch on that. They were both exactly what they needed to be.
We'll just say it was the Rudebush connection.
That's right.
They got the job done.
So Hanover back in this game, but down 4 instead of 3 due to that blocked extra point. So it'll be Hury and Hobbs back for Rose-Hulman as they await this kickoff. Just a reminder, folks, you can keep up to date with every school and every sport in the conference on the HCAC website. Just go to heartlandconf.org. Again, heartlandconf.org. 11:30 remaining in this first half of play. And much as we saw last week with Rose-Hulman, a back-and-forth game in the first half. Kickoff, a bounce here at about the 16. It'll be Hury picking it up, and he'll cut back, and he might have a little bit of room to run here. He'll be eventually taken down. And so it'll be Rose-Hulman taking over at their own 34-yard line. Looked like Keelan Dyson on the tackle there, the sophomore out of Canby, Indiana, Decatur Central.
Let's not get it mistaken. Rose-Hulman has done a lot of amazing things on the offensive side of the ball, especially when it comes to scoring points. But defensively, they've given up some yardage, 450 plus in the first couple of games this year. So Hanover has to have looked at that, saying they see an advantage for their offense.
Robertson tosses it out, and that completion pulled in by Chase Wilkinson, the senior out of Boonville, Indiana. It'll be close to first down yardage.
It's so tough to pick your poison for this Hanover defense. You want to stop the run because those are how the passing lanes get open even more. But then when you get to the pass game, you have two receivers that are almost mimicked in their skill sets. This is a tough matchup for any team in the HCAC.
Little inside handoff to Ruperta, and he will pick up the first down yardage. So Fighting Engineers back in the vicinity of midfield, and they'll have a 1st and 10. 4 wide receiver set. Fake pass. Handoff actually did exist, and it'll be about a 4-yard gain.
That's Noah Caswell playing at arm's length. You can control someone's body with your strength if you have them out extended with your arms. Caswell does a good job of keeping Justin Pearson at arm's length and then just swallowing up the ball carrier.
So Robertson will hand this one off to Ruperta, and a nice job there. Nice penetration coming in from Hanover's Jamie Deckard. A rarity there, a minimal gain by Grant Ruperta. It'll be 3rd down and 6. Call coming in from the sideline, and Robertson will bring his team out and get him set. Snap quickly. Robertson pressured. He'll loft this one down the field. He's got Hobbs. Hobbs can't pull it in. Bounced off his hands and harmlessly to the ground.
The Fighting Engineers offense likes to run the ball and then take advantage of shots down the field. That's a great offense when it works, but then when it doesn't, you find yourselves in absurd, or not absurd, but complex situations like this where you're on the plus 50 and it's 4th down. You don't know if you should go for it, should go for the punt. But nonetheless, this is an offense when it's clicking and everything is going in the proper direction. It bodes well. But here, just not so much on the connection between Robertson and Hobbs. I think just a good pursuit by that defensive backfield for Hanover.
Very similar looking, and Robertson not happy with himself on the sideline, we can see from the booth here. But receiving the punt and bringing it up the field, here's Hunter Eads, and Eads with some room to run up to the 30, and he's going to be knocked out of bounds close to the 40-yard line. So that punt coming from Andrew Toller will keep it here as Hanover will get set to take off with pretty decent field position.
I'd be willing to bet it's going to be a block in the back. Some block in the backs are subtle, but the one that I saw that caused the flag to hit the ground was for sure a little bit more violent than you usually see prime suspects in that territory on special teams.
So there is a block in the back called on Hanover. Glad you saw that flag. It was right where I can't see it because of the pillar in the press box here. So flag will bring things back, and Hanover will not have great field position. Folks, just a reminder, the Commissioner's Cup in the HCAC is a rotating trophy awarded to the institution that garners the most overall all sports points congratulations to Rose-Hulman, the 2022-23 winner of the HCAC Commissioner's Cup. Ball going to be spotted all the way back at the 6. That was a punitive penalty for Hanover, given where they could have had the ball to start this drive. They have to start in the shadow of their own goal line instead. And they're going to actually move the ball to the near hash mark because of where the penalty took place. So Hanover will flip their receivers and split them out to the left. Snap and a handoff. Good pursuit and converging on the ball there, as tackled there after about a 4-yard gain is Austin Opel.
I want to go back to your point about Rose-Hulman, the Commissioner's Cup for the HCAC. This is a football program that when your nickname is the Fighting Engineers, there's an assumption that you're really smart. And I think that assumption bodes well because these are guys that love football but also love the idea of being successful in life.
Here's Opel, takes a hit and keeps going, and he'll pick up first down yardage. Opel, a shifty running back to say the least, 5'8", 180, has nice change of direction and nice speed, and took advantage of both of those items there and gets the first down for Hanover. So Rudebush in the shotgun. He'll uncork this towards the sideline. Reception made by Eric Rudebush, and going to be knocked out of bounds after an 8-yard gain.
The most important part for any offense when you're backed up into your own territory, get the first down. That gives you an opportunity. If nothing else goes well, you could flip the field, giving your defense a better situation to come out to.
Handoff, and met pretty quickly there and taken down. So it'll be second down and actually third down and about 2. That was Blake Huffman on that handoff, the junior out of Columbus North. And looks like a forced substitution here for a helmet coming off. Of course, if the helmet comes off during play, you're supposed to go out for a snap before coming back in. Meant to be a safety measure, but that can be really annoying if your helmet just gets knocked off accidentally.
I remember being in college playing at Ross-Ade Stadium against Purdue in my last season, and my helmet popped off, and I tried to pop it back on super quick, so I didn't have to go off for that play, but not so sneaky.
They caught you. Third down and 1, and they're going to throw. Rudebush swings it out to the side here, and it's Huffman. Huffman trying to get to first down yardage, and he does so. Picks up about 4 or 5 yards after that. Nice job there on the swing pass, kind of a safety valve dump off there, as Rose-Hulman had everything else covered pretty well.
You said it exactly right. The running backs in this offense do just a couple-step check to see what protection looks like, and then they get out for routes. They understand that if there's nothing coming on pressure, they give a safety valve, as you so astutely said, for the quarterback to take advantage of.
Scramble there as pressure left Rudebush with not a lot of other options, and he gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe. It'll be second down and 10. Fast-moving game so far. 6:50 remaining in this first half of play. 17-13, Rose-Hulman leading Hanover. Both teams have moved quickly in terms of getting to the line. And Rudebush going to toss this one over the middle, and a missed throw there as he tried to hit Kerbrian Shelby. It'll be third down and long now.
Credit must be extended to the Hanover coaching staff, because sometimes you fall into a trap of being conservative in your play calling because your backup quarterback has to take over the reins in a game. I haven't seen that so far, especially with them going for it on fourth down and back-to-back drives to start this game.
So third down and 10. It'll be interesting to see what Hanover tries to do here. They haven't really tested Rose-Hulman deep that often so far in this game. Snap, protections there, tossed over the middle, and a nice job tripping up the offensive player there by Stefan Pugh And it'll be a 4th down and about 6, and that'll almost certainly bring the punt team out for Hanover. Yes, it will.
It's always the shoestring tackles that gets everyone to maybe lose a breath for just a second, because those either turn into big plays or they turn into a sigh of relief. On that one, a sigh of relief for the Fighting Engineer fans.
So Eric Rudebush, the senior, yes, he is a wide receiver, but he's also the punter, and he will get this one off. High punt received by Jalen Hobbs, who keeps his feet, and he will break free down the sideline here, gets to the 35, and finally tackled. A nice return by Jalen Hobbs on what was a pretty good punt there by Rudebush.
Yes, it was. And Jalen Hobbs, we think about players like Tyreek Hill. In the NFL, they're almost compared to a human joystick. I remember playing video games back in the day. You almost jolt that joystick in every which direction trying to get it to move faster. We see that in human form with receivers like Jalen Hobbs. For Rose-Hulman, I know they're happy to have a player like him because he can change the game at any moment's notice.
Robertson will start another Rose-Hulman drive and looking downfield, and he's got Hobbs looking for him, pulls it in at the 35-yard line. That connection has been a fruitful one so far for Rose-Hulman.
There's no coverage that can account for Jalen Hobbs, because with his speed, he is going to get on the backside of your defensive coverage. It's just a matter of Robertson getting him the ball. And this is another part of his game that he has, the ball adjustment skills to track the ball over his shoulder as a smaller guy is necessary, constantly making plays.
Hunter Borges, the safety, kind of left out to dry on that one. Now here's the pass to Daniel Curie over the middle and down inside the 10-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal, Fighting Engineers.
It has to be demoralizing as the first tackle attempter to get to the ball carrier and not even have a chance. Set up on that second play right here. Big time play by Jalen Hobbs, tracking another deep ball from Miguel Robertson.
Now Robertson going to hand this one off to Grant Raperta, who will power through. Touchdown, Fighting Engineers. The offensive line opens up a huge hole for Raperta, and he picks up his 2nd touchdown of the game.
It's essential to their run game plan in today. They understand that Hanover's linebackers are a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. So if that offensive line, as we saw there, can get their hats on those linebackers, it opens up huge holes for this running attack to take advantage of.
Coming out for the extra point, Kyle Rehberg, the sophomore. Snap back, and no, it's muffed. Picked up and now looking for somewhere to go with it. Passed and they're going to be tackled without making it in. Brock Ebright made the best of a bad situation there. We'll take a break and come back with more.
Calling officials cheaters or corrupt, it's not a game.
Insulting referees, it's not a game.
Threatening officials, it's not a game.
Berating young umpires, learning the ropes, it's not a game.
Violent language in the stands, it's not a game.
Verbal abuse from the sideline, it's not a game.
Screaming at a referee in the parking lot, it's not a game.
Welcome back to Terre Haute, Indiana, Cook Stadium. Rose-Hulman kicking off after that touchdown. This one high and into the end zone for a touchback. Let's go back and look at what we saw on that last touchdown.
Once again, just the offensive line capturing those linebackers, opening up huge seams for these running backs to take advantage of. You see it there. He doesn't even get touched.
Yeah.
He goes right through the hole, and it's easy to play running back when you don't even get touched, when you don't even have to get tackled. You just walk right in the end zone.
I think a medium-sized car could have made it through that line without being touched. And then, of course, the extra point, just a bad snap there, and Brock Ebright couldn't quite get the ball down. So it ends up eliminating the loss of point for Hanover with their blocked extra point earlier, so still a 10-point lead here for Rose-Hulman as we head towards the end of the first half. Rudebush has to scramble, and he will pick up a couple of yards, and that's about it. 2nd down and 8.
I haven't seen a lack of focus from this Hanover team, and they haven't flinched at all. They trust in what they do, and they've executed so far. And so going into this last 4 minutes of play in the first half, I just look for them to continue to execute because it's worked thus far.
Rudebush takes the snap, looking downfield this time, but he will be sacked, and the ball is out, and Rose-Hulman recovers. Pressure came off the backside. Rudebush didn't feel it soon enough, and picking up on the fumble there is Jamie Deckard. Check that. That was actually Marshall Cook. I apologize.
Earlier in the game, Grinowitz couldn't get to the quarterback, but Riley Lopian says, I actually will. Forces a turnover. Rudebush, we see, holding the ball a little bit too long, forcing a big-time turnover in this part of the field, which is where you see Rose-Hulman so far this year. They get into situations like this and start to extend and play at arm's length.
A sophomore from Wisconsin picks up that fumble recovery, and Rose-Hulman can put a little distance between themselves and the Panthers on this drive, although that first play does not fare well. Here's the fumble.
It's just that extra pumping the ball right here that he doesn't have time for, and oftentimes you just don't feel that defender bearing down on your back. And as always, these defenders are coached to go for the ball. It's a lot better for the swing of the game to get turnovers than just to the TFL and sack.
Robertson rolls out, tosses this one out to Hobbs, and Hobbs able to progress down the field to about the 16-yard line, so it'll be 3rd down and about 5.
This is what you call in football a sudden change. Defense just trotted off the field, not expecting to go back out, but the suddenness that comes with having to go back on the field, it provides different circumstances that you weren't expecting. And you see a lot about your football team and how they react in these type of moments.
Robertson fakes to Ruperta, now looking, and Cat finds Hury, and Hury stays on his feet, knocked out of bounds. 1st and goal. They'll have it at the 4. So Hury coming across the field there, and a nice job by Robertson, knew exactly where he wanted to go with it.
It's just not fair. They're either going to find the open zone or they're going to beat you one-on-one and get over the top with speed. And we see why just last week against Franklin, Hury and Hobbs both had 100 yards receiving.
Now here's a little shift in the backfield. Ruperta, direct snap. He'll power through. Touchdown, but a flag down. And that's right in the vicinity of where you'd normally see a holding call. And the crowd knew it immediately. The energy level dropped into the floor. We'll see what the actual call is here, though. And indeed, it is going to be holding on Rose-Hulman. They got Justin Pearson, the left guard, on that one. So it'll bring Rose-Hulman back 10 yards.
As an offensive lineman myself, it isn't in the rule book, but sometimes those pancake blocks that are a little bit too vicious, official sometimes says that probably look like a holding, so they're going to throw the flag 9 out of 10 times.
So instead of 1st and goal at the 4, it's 1st and goal at the 14. We'll see what Robertson does here. Takes the snap, time to throw, and he will find Hury, who's hemmed up here at about the 7, but keeps on his feet and gets out of bounds. So a nice 8-yard gain there. That puts you almost back where you were before the penalty happened.
The other side of that non-written rule in the rule book is, as a defensive lineman, as I saw there with David Wall Jr., you feel like you beat the offensive lineman clean, get past his upfield hip, and then you get tackled and taken to the ground. As I saw him throwing his hands up, looking at the ref like, can you at least give me the same type of call that we just got the play before?
About 2 minutes left in this first half of play. Robertson airs it out for the corner, and Hury can't quite get under that one, a little overthrown, and it'll be 3rd down and goal.
Good job by the defensive backfield for Hanover, understanding that a penalty in this juncture of the game is far too costly than just allowing yourself to play the ball. He does a good job of getting his hands off. Ball is uncatchable. You live to see another down and could potentially get a stop.
Clock stops here with 1:56 to play. Key game for both of these teams in HCAC conference action. And it'll be Robertson in the shotgun. Fakes the handoff to Hury. Now over the middle. Jalen Hobbs, touchdown! Fighting Engineers.
As you come into the knowledge of what football actually stands for, one of the things as an offense is you do motion in late down situations to see how the defense reacts. Sometimes you do it to get guys out of position to open up holes for other receivers like Jalen Hobbs to take advantage of, and that's exactly what happened. All the shift did was allow Robertson to see that open hole with linebackers shifting over, and Jalen Hobbs sneaking over with his 5'8" stature, finding another touchdown pass.
Extra point is up and good. 30-13. Rose-Hulman leads. We'll be back right after this.
From warehousing to transportation and everything in between, Piper Logistics does it all. Centrally located, Piper Logistics has 2 warehouses in Indianapolis and a warehouse in Cincinnati, Ohio. Piper Logistics houses over 1 million square feet. Along with our transportation department, we can provide service to half the United States markets.
We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, IndianaSRN. Hit the bell to get notifications for upcoming games and more. Watch as many games as you want, as many times as you want.
Welcome back to Terre Haute, Indiana. Galen Clavio, Jared Thomas joining you here on this call of Rose-Hulman versus Hanover on RHIT.TV. Good to have you folks joining us. 1:52 remaining in this first half. Jonathan Olinger will send this kick not as deep as previous ones. It'll be fielded by Gordon. Gordon with some blockers in front, but he's got some tacklers in front too, and he's taken out of bounds at about the 24. Well, let's go back and look at that touchdown play here, and just a nice job by Hobbs coming across the coverage, and I think no one exactly knew who was supposed to take him on the coverage at that point.
You saw the second level of that defense, their eyes go to the motion guy. Usually that motion's going to take you to the play. Watch everyone shift right there, and then Hobbs just find the distance that he needs just across that defensive back's face, finding the open zone for a touchdown. It's simple football, but Rose-Hulman just makes it look so easy.
So Hanover really in need of some points here, as they have been close to Rose-Hulman most of this game, but now down 3 scores. And here is Opal taken down in the backfield. A really nice job there by Rose-Hulman to get penetration. So Jakey Ovanik able to make that tackle, or Jacob Fields, pardon me, there on that one. So 2nd down and 10. I'll say he got back to the line of scrimmage. Rudebush over the middle, and some miscommunication there as he was looking for Jalen Peck, but threw it well behind him. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Just not a lot of chemistry between Jalen Peck and Ian Rudebush so far in this game. It's about the 2nd or 3rd time that Jalen is expecting the ball in a certain area, and Rudebush throws it to another. And that's just not boding well for this offense so far, especially in a very unique position to be in as you go to the end of this first half, about 1:15 on the clock. You don't want to give the ball back to Rose-Hulman because they've shown they can score fast and in a hurry. So a little bit of clock management, but also some movement and some first downs need to be had for Hanover.
Rudebush flushed out of the pocket, having to roll, and will complete the pass to Opal for the first down. And that was some heads-up play on the rollout there by Rudebush. And just like that, Hanover keeps this drive alive with about 1:07 remaining in the first half of play.
That's exactly what you want to see from your quarterback. Have poise to understand. Don't just put your head down and just try to run for the first down in a 3rd and long situation.
Rudebush over the middle, and he might want to buy Jalen Peck maybe some flowers after putting him in that spot, as he got leveled on that tackle, but a 5-yard gain. Rudebush, another pass, and looked like some early contact, and it's intercepted. Intercepted by Rose-Hulman. Marshall Cook able to pull that one in off a wild deflection. Very close play there on the initial defense of that pass, might have been pass interference. Instead, it's an interception, and Rose-Hulman comes away with it.
There's so much human error in football, especially with officials. Hanover sideline believes that defensive back got to the ball a little bit too quickly. But for Rose-Hulman, that's all water under the bridge because tip balls usually mean big plays. And Marshall Cook doing a good job of finding his way to that interception, the team's leading tackler coming into today. And as so many defenses do, they look for a camera with a little bit of celebration as they come to the sideline.
Right in front of the band over here in front of us. That's great. So huge play for the Rose-Hulman defense as Hanover had gotten a little juice going there. And you can see here, I don't think we're going to get the actual contact, but you do see the ball ricochet. What a camera shot there. Nicely done. And pulled in by the sophomore, Marshall Cook. Just got to be in the right place at the right time sometimes in football.
And you have to run to the football. We saw Marshall, as the ball was thrown, turn and look and find a way that he can invite himself to the mosh pit of players where the ball was. It just so happened as he was running, that ball popped up, made the phenomenal athletic catch with his hands.
There's a flag down on the field here. Let's see what this is all about. Holding called on the return there, so they'll move the ball back.
I think we were so busy flapping our jaws about the celebration on the sideline. They
might have actually run a play already. You're right. So
play.
Yes, that's what we get for focusing on the replay. That's my bad. But no, first down at 17 here. Roll out, and that's going to be drifting out of bounds harmlessly. So second down. If you're Rose-Hulman, you almost just want to say, look, we'll take what we got here and go to halftime with this lead as opposed to trying to press the issue, especially with a 2nd and 17 that you're facing now.
For this defense of Hanover, this isn't just okay, we're going to keep everything in front of us, because you haven't done so far today. So you really have to be locked in because you don't want to go down into halftime down by potentially 24 points. That's a steep uphill battle that you find yourselves in the second half.
Robertson, they're going to hand this off to Ruperta, who will bounce it outside and will go out of bounds. Lost about a yard there on that, and now it's going to be third down. 16 seconds remaining in this half. 30-13. Rose-Hulman has had to scrap a bit against Hanover, but they are certainly in a position of strength now.
This is a game a year ago that we saw Hanover get out to a fast start, 7-0 early in their contest dating back to 2022. In this one, it was Rose-Hulman, and Rose-Hulman has just steadied their offensive attack and their prowess as a team.
Robertson steps up, and he'll toss this off to Green. Green with a little bit of running room, still on his feet, and finally dragged down at about the 17-yard line. 7 seconds left here. Tackle was finally made by Hunter Borges, and a timeout is going to be called, but we'll keep it here. Well, that flips the script a little bit, as now Rose-Hulman can kick a field goal. There's a flag down on the field, though, way back in the backfield. Let's see what this is all about.
These are just drive killers, especially when you get big plays. As an offensive lineman, the worst feeling that you can have is see your guys go make a big-time play, and you have to bring everyone back past the initial line of scrimmage because you got a little bit too handsy.
So another holding call, and this is going to put Rose-Hulman in a position where they're facing a 3rd and 28. Not a lot of plays in the playbook to cover that amount of yardage. And the clock's just going to run out here as it started up once again. Now let's see. Rose-Hulman coaching staff saying, wait a minute, why did the clock restart on that penalty? So some conversations being had. So apparently a timeout called by Rose-Hulman, but we'll keep it here. They're going to put 7 seconds back on the clock. So with 7 seconds remaining, you're kind of in an interesting spot here if you're Rose-Hulman, because you really don't want to punt the ball, and you can't be for sure that you're going to run 7 seconds off the clock. That's a lot on any play. So what do you do in this circumstance?
You're going for the points, and points on this drive is just going to be 3. through a field goal. And so when you think about plays that get you to the sideline but also get you within decent field goal range, you're looking at about 5 or 6 seconds that are a little bit deeper hitting routes toward the sideline. So one, Miguel Robertson has to be smart. If it's not there, just throw the ball away. You much rather go into halftime up by 17 than try to make a play to get more points. That would be considered greed. So there's a level of intuition that you have to play with in this situation, but you also want to get the points if you can.
Robertson going to hand this off to Ruperta, and he will rumble down the field, picks up the first down. He'll slide. Well, didn't get to the first down, pardon me. He got to the original line to gain, and that will stop the clock, and that should... Now they're going to say that timeout was called with 1 second remaining. The clock felt like it might have stopped slightly prematurely, as it probably should have kept running given that that was not at the first down marker. But they'll say that 1 second will remain here, and it'll be 2 seconds, pardon me. It'll be fourth down at the 35-yard line.
Everyone was probably paying attention to Ruperta as he broke free on that run, but I was paying attention to Coach Sokol, who was also sprinting probably faster than Ruperta on the sideline to make sure he got that timeout in. Because as I said, with about 5 to 6 seconds to get you in decent field goal range, which it doesn't look like they're going to go for the field goal, that was what you would have needed. Enough time to get a big-time play and allow your field goal unit to trot on the field.
So with 1 second left in this half, it'll be Robertson. He'll drop back, rushed, steps up, unleashes it, a wobbler towards the end zone, floating and dropped. Green looked like he got his hands on it, but it falls to the turf, and that'll be the end of the first half of play. Well, Rose-Hulman goes in the happier of the two sides. 30-13 the score as they lead Hanover heading into this halftime, and you can see this last play.
This was almost dangerous. Yeah. I see Brody Luker just kind of backing up, and Brandon Green comes in and almost in basketball fashion boxes him out. Goes up, high points the ball, but as so many defensive coaches talk about in that area of the field, his defensive backfield for Coach Theobald bats the ball down because he does coach the defensive backfield, a defensive back in his own regard, playing at Hanover College. So his group does a good job ending the half to stop the bleeding as they go in down 17.
Hanover has to feel like they let this one get away from them a bit in that second quarter, as they were right there, but some mistakes compounding over the course of the last 7 minutes of play.
They were on an offensive drive that we saw a fumble, and there are turnovers, and then there are meaningful turnovers. And Rose-Hulman caused a meaningful turnover because they were able to come back on the field offensively and turn it into points. So instead of being down 10, driving offensively, you're now down by 17, and you didn't expect that because you gave the ball in an advantageous part of the field for the Fighting Engineers to take advantage of.
We'll take a break, and we'll come back with our halftime guest here. Again, the score, 30-13. Rose-Hulman leads Hanover. We'll be back after this.
A good engineer, a good mathematician, a good scientist can identify problems.
But in order to be a great scientist or engineer, you've got to have curiosity and you've got to have creativity, and that's what's going to set you apart.
You can't teach curiosity. You just need to encourage your student to be curious. Curious in anything that they do. Curious so that it brings out the innovations, the new ideas.
Since we're doing things so quickly, a lot of times we know that we need help. So our professors all know us by name.
Basically, everybody knows everybody here.
That one-on-one personal connection you're getting with the faculty, you don't get that a lot of places.
We are not just saying, here, go do this hard project. We are right there with them. We work with them.
The faculty are there for you.
Anxious over algebra? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at askrose.org. Confused by chemistry? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at askrose.org.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium in Terre Haute, Indiana. Galen Clavio joining you here, and we've got a special guest at halftime, senior guard Bradley Harden from the Rose-Hulman men's basketball team. Bradley, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Appreciate it. It's a great day. Packed here at Rose, man. You got football games, soccer. I think they even got a wedding going on. Parking was tough to find, but, it's a great day.
I was over here for one of the games earlier this year. I think it was the Anderson game. I had to park all the way in the auxiliary lot way over there. I was like, well, I get a broadcast and a workout at the same time. But, Bradley, let's talk a little about coming into the season. Men's basketball, that you started every game last year, tied a school record for most starts in a season. And, it felt like a season took a little bit of time to get settled, but really ended strong. What was your overall feeling about how the last year went overall?
Yeah, obviously sales came in a little later than we wanted. Didn't have an assistant right away, so it was really just him by himself. But I think the team really came together. Really around Christmas break is where we started hitting our groove, figuring out a new offense. that's always tough to get. But no, we hit our stride right when we needed to in the tournament. Obviously fell a little short there at Anderson, but we had some phenomenal shooting. Miles was playing great down low. It was just a great experience in general.
43% from three last season, which was a big jump from the previous year. What's the big difference when you make that big of a jump in terms of how you're shooting from outside?
No, for sure. I think it's really just the time in the gym. Sales came in and established a culture. I think kind of those first 2 years, that it was really that passion for basketball wasn't where it was in high school. I think when sales came in, it kind of just rejuvenated, new culture. And we had guys coming in 2-a-days. Obviously it's tough. You got Rose. So, basketball season in the winter, you're going to class, you're going to workouts, and then you got practice later in the afternoon. So he really kind of established that culture, like, hey, if you want it, you got to work for it. And I think everyone bought in. You could tell just from, I think it was a 20% increase there from shooting three, and you don't really see that often. But, it was just those repetitions, and it really made a difference.
Another big one for you, 41 steals on the season last year. How much do you try to pride yourself on your defensive effort out there?
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of times I like to pride myself as being a little undersized, so I kind of got that underdog mentality. Obviously, the bigger guys, try to back me up, post me down, so I love taking on that challenge. So that's definitely something I pride myself on.
You got a big one coming up here in the preseason here. You're heading up to Ball State, I think, for a game. What is that? How do you prep for that, and what does that feel like going into an arena and a Division I opponent and just kind of having that opportunity?
No, for sure. Last night we got back. We were up in Wilmington, had a scrimmage last night, so that was great. And, that's great for the freshmen, kind of got them a little road trip. Always tough to get them, used to that. But I think the biggest thing for a D1 school is, everyone always hypes it up, bigger guys, more athletic. But I think the biggest thing is, no one's really expecting much from you. So go in there and show what you can do. Obviously, my sophomore year, we got the experience to go play at ISU, which is obviously fantastic. Kind of gave them a little shock at halftime. I think they were only down a couple points. I know their coach was livid. So hopefully we could go, rattle some feathers up there at Ball State. But it should be an awesome experience.
That's amazing. How does the team look this year? What should people expect as Rose-Hulman takes the floor this season?
No, for sure. I think we are nothing short of being able to put the ball in the basket this year. I think you should see a lot of scoring, a lot of highlight plays. Got some big athletic freshmen coming in. Definitely should look for some lobs this year. You got Miles down low. That post hook is always going to fall. Should be exciting, though. I think, obviously everyone's always underestimating us with losing a bunch of seniors, got some freshmen coming in, but Sales does a great job getting us ready. Obviously, shout out to Coach Ham, too. Been huge help this offseason. So I think we're going to be ready to go. And I got a lot of fans out here at the football game. Hopefully we can get the same crowd at the basketball games. I think it'll be a pretty electric winter season.
Last question for you. You're from Alexandria, Virginia. You come out here. What was it that drew you out to Rose-Hulman to begin with, and what's it been like now going into your senior year and being here for 4 years?
No, I got to be honest. Never heard of Rose-Hulman before until I started getting recruited for basketball. Looked it up. Had the big #1 engineering school undergraduate. So when I saw that, talked to my parents, did some research, came out here. It was a fantastic opportunity. 4 years. Already got my full-time job lined up already before the season even starts, so that pressure's off. Just really focus on basketball. But I mean, you have a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity here to play basketball and get a phenomenal education. So, I mean, I wouldn't have done anything else. Great guys. I mean, being on a sports team is, I mean, probably the best experience you can ever have. I mean, I'm gonna know these guys for the rest of my life. So I wouldn't do anything else. It's been nothing short of fantastic.
That's amazing. Well, I'm looking forward. I'm going to get to call some of the games this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
On our HIT.TV. So we'll look forward to coming back out here and seeing you guys in action. Bradley, good luck with the season and good luck with what you guys are doing. And hopefully you can exceed even what you did last year.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being on. Bradley Harden, senior guard for the Rose-Hulman men's basketball team. We'll take another break. We'll come back with first half highlights and we'll preview what to expect in the second half of play here as Rose-Hulman leads Hanover by 17 points. We'll be right back.
A good engineer, a good mathematician, a good scientist can identify problems.
But in order to be a great scientist or engineer, you've got to have curiosity and you've got to have creativity. And that's what's going to set you apart.
You can't teach curiosity. You just need to encourage your students to be curious. Curious in anything that they do. Curious so that it brings out the innovations, the new ideas.
Since we're doing things so quickly, a lot of times we know that we need help. So our professors all know us by name.
Basically, everybody knows everybody here.
That one-on-one personal connection you're getting with the faculty, you don't get that a lot of places.
We are not just saying, here, go do this hard project. We are right there with them. We work with them.
The faculty are there for you.
Anxious over algebra? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at askrose.org. Confused by chemistry? Call Ask Rose, the free science and math homework helpline. It's free world-class tutoring. Just call, chat, email, or screen share. Learn more at askrose.org.
Back here at Cook Stadium, Galen Clavio, Jared Thomas joining you here. 30-13, Rose-Hulman leads. Our thanks to our halftime guest, Bradley Harden. Enjoyed having him on. We will, of course, have coverage of Rose-Hulman basketball, both men's and women's, throughout the course of the season, so be sure to tune in. Also, just a reminder, on RHIT.TV, we've got soccer tournament action, 4 o'clock this afternoon, so in about 30 minutes, you'll see men's soccer. And then at 7 o'clock tonight, we've got women's soccer. So a lot going on here with Rose-Hulman Athletics. You can all catch it right here. Let's talk a little bit about that first half now that we've had a couple of minutes to think about it. To me, the biggest key in all of this was how Rose-Hulman was able to rely on the passing game to really open up what you saw. Hanover had some good individual plays like the one you're just seeing there. But really, when I think of the key plays of the half, it was Rose-Hulman, and it largely involved Jalen Hobbs and Dannon Curie.
When you're breaking down offensive drives, you always assume that you want to end with points. So for Hanover, you have 2 drives. One where you didn't execute on a 4th down. You give the ball back to the Fighting Engineers. A second one in the second quarter where you turn the ball over, and that's potentially 14 points that you leave on the board, and 7 of those you gift by a turnover to the Fighting Engineers. So in a 2-score game and talking about 14 points, that is legitimately the difference right now in the game. And so going into the second half, I know for the Panthers, they have to do more plays like that where the Rudabush connection is alive and well, because if not, they're going to find themselves in a deeper hole because this offensive attack for the Fighting Engineers is very highfalutin, and they can continue to attack time and time again.
It was really even first half, all things considered, and in fact, Hanover actually rushed the ball better. They averaged 6.3 yards per rush. A lot of that came on that really long run you saw out of Opal, but it was through the air that Rose-Hulman made most of its mark. 219 yards passing. Miguel Robertson 18 for 26. You look at the individual statistics for the Fighting Engineers. Jalen Hobbs 5 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Hury 9 catches, 87 yards, and Miguel Robertson, as we mentioned, 2 touchdowns, 219 yards overall. Not to leave Grant Ruperta out, he had a really good first half in terms of touchdowns and yardage. Just got bottled up quite a few times, only 3.6 yards per rush, which is well below his season average.
But still nearing in on another about 40 yards to get to that 100-yard mark would get him to 4 games this year of over 100 yards. And this is why this offense is so potent, because Jalen Hobbs and Daniel Hury constantly find themselves open. And Robertson at the quarterback position, we can't overlook this. His ability to be poised and get them the ball is why they can score so many points quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Ian Rodebush for Hanover, 13 for 23 in that first half, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 115 yards total. But he did have an interception. Can't really totally blame him for that. It was a knock-up. The ball that got knocked up in the air did give up a fumble on a sack. A pretty good first half for the freshman overall. Looking across the rest of the statistical contributors for Hanover, Opal, 7 carries, 79 net yards, 11.3 yards per carry. Again, he had that very long run. Gordon, 2 catches, 25 yards and a touchdown. And then Eric Rodebush gets the touchdown catch from his brother, 3 catches, 24 yards, and 1 score. As we head into this second half, what does Hanover need to do to get back into the game?
I look at Jalen Peck for the Panthers. They have to get him going. Just a couple of times in that first half, he and Rodebush not exactly able to get on the same page. And Jalen Peck, since we're talking about speedy receivers, is the Panthers' speedy receiver in the slot position. So if they can get him going, just getting his eyes in the right place, or even Rodebush getting the ball to the correct path in which Jalen is looking, I think that will bode well as they go into the second half and try to make a comeback.
Hanover will get the ball to start the second half. Can they get back into this one? We'll have to wait and see. We'll take a break and come back with the start of the second half of play. It is 30-13. Rose-Hulman leads. Back after this. Back here at Cook Stadium, happy to be joining you folks for the second half of action as we get set for more of Rose-Hulman versus Hanover. And as we mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why this game is so important, Rose-Hulman can clinch a spot in the conference championship game against Mount St. Joseph with a win in this contest. It would put them 2 games clear of Hanover as far as the loss column is concerned. So, you know, you've got that ending of season game between Mount St. Joseph's and Rose-Hulman, which at this point looks like it will be for the regular season conference championship. It'll be fascinating to see if that ends up being the case, if Rose-Hulman can continue to do what they did in this game, which is go up against a really good defense and still put a lot of points on the board.
In any collegiate conference, it's hard to win games year in and year out. And with this Rose-Hulman team eyeing another HCAC conference championship season, that'll get them to number 4 under Coach Sokol, who's now in his 13th season. And so I know his message is not one of looking at that particular statistic, but it's more so saying we're going to focus on our opponent, do what we need to do to win games. I like the adjustments that I've seen through their offense. They're not attacking teams the same way every single time. They find ways to get their playmakers the ball, and that's why we've seen so many great offensive performances, because they play to the standard of what their players can bring to the table, and that's a lot of speed and a lot of passing offense with a quarterback that can throw the ball all over the yard.
Let's give you a check of some scores from around the D3 football world. Number 1, North Central up 20-0 on North Park at the end of the first quarter of play. Mount Union up 30-0 on Otterburn, the number 2 Mount Union squad. They're looking pretty strong today. Number 3, Wartburg 17-7 leaders against Central. A final from earlier, Wisconsin Lacrosse, who's ranked 4th, a 59-14 winner over Wisconsin Eau Claire. Tight game with Wisconsin River Falls and Wisconsin Stout. Wisconsin River Falls ranked 7th, but those teams tied at 21 at half. And then one other score to bring you of note, Wheaton, Illinois, number 12 in the country, leading Milliken 27-0. A couple of scores from Division I football that we'll chat about here as we get ready for the start of this second half. Almost a surprise in Happy Valley, as Indiana actually was tied with Penn State with about 3 minutes to play at 24. Nittany Lions score the last 9. They win 33-24 in that one. Tight game between Oklahoma and Kansas going on right now in Big 12 action, 27-26. Oklahoma leading. And of course, just getting started, Pittsburgh playing Notre Dame. That game scoreless as they're just now kicking off.
That's a Notre Dame team with Coach Freeman at the helm as head coach that's seen a lot of adversity this first couple of weeks of this season, but bouncing back in a major way with a big-time win in South Bend against USC. And he's got that program aimed in the right direction.
I left out the most important score for you. Northwestern knocks off Maryland 33-27. That's a bit of a surprise given how the trajectory of those two teams so far this year.
I didn't know where you were going with that, because I was like, I didn't expect that one, but good job by the Wildcats. Another big-time win. I know they had one earlier this season against Minnesota at home in some thrilling fashion. So they are doing a fantastic job to go into this season, which has, been a little bit rocky performance-wise the last couple of years.
So Rose-Hulman will kick off. It'll be Hanover receiving, and now going west to east here in Terre Haute, Indiana. Rose-Hulman trying to pick up their 5th win in a row and their 5th conference win of the season. Oliger going to put his foot into this one. And Michael Gordon back along with Kerbrian Shelby to return this kick. It'll be fielded at the 2. And here's Gordon squeezing through and up to about the 25, where he will be brought down.
It's important that this Panther offense not try to get the whole kitchen sink back on their first offensive drive. Just worry about executing on this drive. If you do that, you live to see another, I guess you could get some points or even a touchdown, but you live to see another day, because you just have to stay in the game. Don't allow this game to get out of hand, but it's going to take some offensive execution.
So Rudebush going to take the snap here on the first play of the second half, and a handoff immediately. That goes to the running back in. That is Blake Huffman, who got more play than we expected. Huffman not on the 2 deep coming into this game for Hanover, but he has played more than Don Dunning and has had a couple of nice plays, including a safety valve swing pass in the second quarter that kept the drive alive for Hanover. Snap, and Rudebush looking downfield. He'll be pressured and continues to be pressured. Rudebush tries, well, I'm not sure who he was going after there. He had Jalen Peck short, and he had Hunter Eads deep, and he kind of tossed it in between the two of them, so it'll be 3rd and long.
It's hard to execute on offense because everything has to be on the same page for positive plays to be made. Rudebush had Jalen Peck open there on that route, but because protection broke down a little bit, Rudebush's eyes weren't on Peck like they should have been. And so instead, he had to extend the play with his legs, trying to get the ball to him on a second effort. Just didn't quite work out.
So 3rd down and long. Rodebush. And he's able to get the first down yardage. Nice toss there to Jalen Peck, 5'7" senior, 5'7" junior out of Bloomington, Indiana, and that was exactly what Hanover needed, just something positive to get this first drive going.
Down from your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Bloomington, Indiana, the Bloomington South product.
Quick snap here on 1st down. Rodebush avoids a would-be tackler and then tosses that one out of bounds. Good pressure coming from this front 7 for Rose-Hulman as they've really started to disrupt the pocket for Hanover.
This is the part of the game for a defense when you know you can pin your ears back just a tad bit, because you understand that with a 17-point lead, this Hanover team isn't just going to come out and just try to run the ball because it's what they do or the advantage that they have in the run game, but they want to score points. So knowing that, the pressure is definitely going to be dialed up.
Whistle and a false start going to be flagged here for Hanover. That's going to take them in the wrong direction. So it'll be 2nd and 15 as they'll have to redo this down. Big weekend next week for HCAC conference play, and we'll have all of that. Manchester at Franklin football at 1:30. Rose-Hulman will be hosting Bluffton in volleyball at 4 p.m. Also, times to be announced, we'll have both the men's and the women's HCAC conference championship. So a bunch going on, and conference championship for soccer. My apologies. But all of that coming up next weekend. Be sure to tune in. Here's the throw by Rodebush down the field, unable to connect there with Eric Rodebush. It'll be 3rd down and long.
Some of these open receivers that we saw in the first half, that coverage has tightened up just a little bit, so Rodebush not finding those open holes or even opportunities to execute on some big plays, but they're going to need to get on the page quick and very fast, because if not, they're just going to continue to find themselves in a position down 17 and allowing this Fighting Engineer offense to come back and go for more points.
So 3rd and 15. This has been a bit of a struggle for Hanover so far in this contest, these long yardage situations. This one tossed out of bounds, a little too much air under that, and it'll be 4th and 15. That'll almost certainly bring the punting unit on.
There's a tendency when Rodebush finds himself in trouble, Ian, that is, he looks for brother Eric. He knows he's somewhere down there, but this Rose-Hulman defense understands that as well, and so he was double covered, nowhere really to throw on that last offensive play.
So going back to punt, we haven't seen a lot out of the punters so far in this game, as both offenses have done a pretty good job of staying on the field. But Eric Rodebush will punt this one, fielded by Hobbs, and he avoids the first wave of tacklers and will break out here to his left towards the sideline, and he will meander out of bounds at about the 46. So nice job by Jalen Hobbs. Picks up about 15 yards on that return, although a flag down on the field. It's hard to tell with the flags sometimes, as there are leaves on the field that look like flags. But a spot foul for an illegal block on Rose-Hulman, so that's going to bring it back, and looks like the Fighting Engineers will start things off here at their own 31.
I feel the same way. As we started the broadcast, I thought someone was messing with us as I looked out there, and I'm like, is someone going to pick up that flag? But it was actually one of those leaves coming down from so many of the trees surrounding Cook Stadium.
Okay, so they're going to say 10 yards from the spot of the foul, and the infraction happened at the 31, which means we're going to actually see them start at about the 21. Robertson, and that a low worm burner that Hury can't pick up, so 2nd down and 10 here. Both offenses looking a little out of sync coming out of the break.
There's always a lull to every game. It happens in the first half. It happens in the second half. Teams sometimes get disinterested if you're up by so many points, and the team that's down by so many points, you sometimes feel like you're in a hole that you can't climb out of. It's about who can get out of this lull first.
Robertson, another quick throw off to Hobbs, and he'll squirt through there and pick up about 7 or 8 yards. very reliable connection if you're going to throw behind some blockers. Hobbs has shown a great ability in this game to find where the defenders are not.
And I believe that might have been Hury.
Was that Hury?
It's hard to, it's not not easy to identify both of them because they look the same. They're both fast, and the numbers on these Rose-Hulman jerseys when it comes to 2 and 4 could almost be swapped for each other.
Quick handoff here to Jay Smith, who starts off as the tailback in this second half, and he will pick up the first down yardage. So Rose-Hulman able to move the chain, something Hanover was not able to do on their first drive of the game. And so we'll see Robertson setting things up. Another handoff to Smith. And Smith, with that same powerful running action that we've gotten used to throughout the course of the season, picks up some nice yardage there on first down.
The key to these defenders for the Panthers is, yes, you're going to start close to the line of scrimmage. You want to get to the ball as fast as you can, but then you have to not be able to allow running backs like Jay Smith to break tackles, because as soon as you allow tackles to be broken, more yardage is gained, putting your defense that much more on a thin line.
First down. And again, Jay Smith able to pick up that yardage. Rose-Hulman offensive line has really done a nice job blocking on running plays so far in this game. Toss over here, and Hobbs able to pull that in. Took a pretty hard hit there, but picks up about 4.
I was thinking a couple plays ago, do guys like Hobbs and Hury ever get tired? And I think the only way for them to come out of the game is when they get the wind knocked out of them, like we saw there from Hobbs. At that smaller stature, some hits hurt a little bit more than others.
Robertson hands it off to Smith, and he'll pick up another couple of yards and brought down shy of the first down, and a whistle's blowing here as they indicate forward progress is stopped. So it'll be third down and about 3. We'll see coming back into the game here, Aiden Sturgeon, the tight end out of West Lafayette. Probably into block, as we don't see Sturgeon targeted that much in the passing game. And a pretty power formation, relatively speaking, here for this Rose-Hulman squad. I'll go out of the pistol. Hand it off to Smith, and Smith was contacted early, and I think he's going to be slightly short of the first down here. Looks like fourth down and a little under a yard, and Rose-Hulman going to talk about what to do here, but it looks like they're going to keep the offense on the field.
This is a pivotal point of the game for this defense, as we see Caswell getting the crowd into it, because he knows if they can get a stop here, they get some life back to their offense.
Snap off to Smith, and he'll pick up the first down easily. Really nice job of blocking there, especially on that left side of the line. Aiden Sturgeon, who we mentioned, Dylan Page, the left tackle, really sealed off and gave Jay Smith a nice part of the line to jump over. You can see it right there.
Just watch him clear the guys down, going low. It's a heads-up play by Smith, understanding that with the low stature, somebody's coming to lay the boom on him. He said, I'll be a lot smarter than that with my engineer background and go over the top.
So Robertson with another first down here. 9:14 remaining in this third quarter of play. Hand off to Smith, and Smith again able to pick up a good amount of yardage, about 7 on that one. It'll be second down and 3. Well, one small bit of concern here for Rose-Hulman. We just saw Jalen Hobbs go into the injury tent, as he still looked shaken up after that play that you saw a few plays ago where he caught the ball and looked like he got the wind knocked out of him. So hopefully he's able to emerge unscathed.
And I think the injury bug is permeating through some of the other players on the Hanover team, as we see linebacker right there, number 2, Caleb Brewster, coming up a bit gimpy.
As we wait here for the restart as a timeout taken, we're going to keep it here. Just a reminder, folks, that In the HCAC, the Heartland takes academics very seriously. Athletes in the conference must maintain a 3.5 grade point average. Each year, over 1,000 student athletes carry at least a cumulative 3.5 GPA and are named to the HCAC All-Academic Team. We are live here in Terre Haute, Indiana, Cook Stadium, campus of the Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. Good to be joining you folks once again for the call as Rose-Hulman looking to push their record to 6-2 and 5-0 in conference play, and we'll get set to get going once again. It looks like Hobbs has made it back out onto the field, so that is good to see that he has recovered nicely. So split out to that far side. Here's Robertson looking down the field. He will loft it right into the arms of a Hanover defender, an interception, and a poor decision on that throw there, as I'm not sure exactly where the ball was supposed to go, but I'm guessing it was not into the arms of the Hanover defensive back. Or pardon me, that was actually Garon Jenkins, looks like, that made that interception.
It goes back to what I said in the first half. Robertson is throwing it to a spot. He expects Hury to keep going to the spot that he threw it to. Hury stopped, pulled up on his route, thought Robertson saw him, but instead a turnover in a fashion that we didn't expect to see.
So with that turnover, it'll be first down for Hanover, and they desperately needed something like that, as they were staring down the barrel of potentially another score for Rose-Hulman, but instead they'll take over once again. Rodebush taken down at the line of scrimmage, and Rose-Hulman's defense continues to play very well.
We saw Marshall Cook earlier in the game run to the ball, find himself get an interception. This time we see what he does very, very well, leading the team in tackles, coming into today's contest with 46, always finding himself near the action in the piles, and we saw it there with that big-time tackle.
So second down and 10. Rudebush going to air this one out, and that just falls harmlessly out of bounds. Was trying to find Mason Williams, but we started to see Rodebush get a bit bothered by this pressure, and he has lofted 2 or 3 balls out of bounds on the left side. He's just, the coverage is there, but he's also he's having trouble finding other places to put the ball at this point, it seems.
I think we're seeing some freshman tendencies start to show face a little bit. It's a lot easier when you come into games and everything is clicking on all cylinders, but when you face a little bit of adversity, it's a little bit tougher, especially when you're so young.
Now a stoppage here as officials discussing something, and now they're going to wind the clock once again. So play clock and game clock both running. Third down and 10. And Rudebush getting the updated play call from the sideline. Rose-Hulman only rushing 3. They drop 8 back into coverage, and finding a hole in that gap of the zone is Rudebush. First down, Hanover.
It's a lot easier when that safety net is your brother. That connection is there. It hasn't been clicking so far in the third quarter, but they found another kind of momentum play, getting a first down like we saw on their first drive, so let's see if they can build off of it.
Handoff here to Opal, and he's got a little bit of a block, and he's able to break free to the midfield. Now cuts back in and tackled at the 40, and another timely play by Austin Opal, the junior out of Brandenburg, Kentucky. It'll be a first down, Hanover, inside Rose-Hulman territory.
Who says that offensive linemen aren't athletic? We see right tackle number 71, Jacob Mutzler, pull from his right tackle position across the formation, throwing a key kick-out block, allowing Opal to scurry for the first down.
So first down play, Rodebush going to toss this over the middle, and he's got his man, and tackled after a first down is Jalen Peck. So Hanover suddenly moving the ball with ease, and they'll have a first down, not quite in the red zone, but knocking on the door.
You can feel a little bit of momentum pushed into the life of this Panther team as they're driving on this one so far.
And here's another pass into the end zone. Touchdown, Hanover. Eric Rodebush from his brother And Hanover right back in this contest.
And that's all you need, a couple of plays to get the juices flowing a little bit, and then you go right back to reliable, and that's the brotherly connection, finding the back of the end zone for that Rudabush touchdown once again.
So Hanover, after a rough first series in this second half, able to come up with a timely interception and then turn it into points on a nice drive down the field. Extra point coming from Paichow, and he gets it up and in. 30-20 the score. We'll be back right after this.
From warehousing to transportation and everything in between, Piper Logistics does it all. Centrally located, Piper Logistics has 2 warehouses in Indianapolis and a warehouse in Cincinnati, Ohio. Piper Logistics houses over 1 million square feet. Along with our transportation department, we can provide service to half the United States markets.
We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, IndianaSRN. Hit the bell to get notifications for upcoming games and more. Watch as many games as you want, as many times as you want.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium. Rose-Hulman 30, Hanover 20. Hanover back in this game after falling down by 17. But a really nice job answering Rose-Hulman here at the start of this second half. An interception and then a long touchdown drive capped off by a Rodabush to Rodabush connection.
It's all about the meaningful turnovers. It's good enough to get a turnover, but then it's about, does your offense come out and capitalize on it once they get back on the field? And we saw the Hanover Panthers come on the field offensively, get a little bit of juice flowing for their offensive side of the ball, and then turn that turnover into points.
Kickoff coming here from Hanover. And it'll be Hury, Hobbs, both back to return. And this is another squib-ish sort of kick. And now a little fake reverse to Hury. And here goes Jalen Hobbs to midfield, to the 40, cuts back. And he's finally dragged down, almost a horse collar, but not quite. A touchdown-saving tackle there from Hanover as number 38, that looked like Aiden Jokum, able to bring him down, but Jalen Hobbs, who was shaken up earlier, certainly looks like he's right here.
This is how he changes games. Go out on special teams, outrun everyone, make people miss, and change the field position for your offense to come on the field and get in striking distance on their first play from scrimmage.
Well, and just what Hanover didn't need there was giving Rose-Hulman great field position and a momentum changer of a play.
If we're talking about strategy, it almost might be better for them to kick it out of bounds than kicking into these speedsters coming out of the backfield.
Ruperta gets the opening handoff on this drive, picks up about 5. You can see another angle on Hobbs here, and just a good job of cutting back. And really, that tackle there by Jokum probably did save the touchdown. So 2nd down and 6. Here's the handoff to Ruperta, and he'll be taken down quickly. Touchdown replay. We haven't had a chance to show you.
Double move on the sideline. Who says 6'4" can't move with speed? As we see Eric Rudabush, who can kick and also catch touchdowns, because that's number 2 on the day. And he gets the crowd going. And I saw Ian, his brother at the quarterback position, getting fired up. He knows that that momentum is alive and well, and as soon as that tide turns, some things can start going the Panther way.
So 3rd down and 5. Robertson able to make the connection to Green, and he'll get 1st down yardage. A nice, efficient play there by Rose-Hulman. They didn't try to do anything more than just move the chains, and they were able to do so.
A very simple concept that gets the job done every single time. That's just a basic hitch route. Get to the sticks like Green does, catch the ball, get the 1st down, and you just keep the chains moving.
Quick handoff to Ruperta. Back into the line, and another 4 or 5 yard gain. So Rose-Hulman eating some time off the clock here, 4:43 At this level of football, it's interesting because normally at this point you're already thinking field goal. Field goals are tough at this level because the kickers a lot of times just don't quite have the ability to hit from distance with accuracy. So if you're Hanover, you still feel pretty good about this defensive possession. Ruperta cuts back, and he will be taken down at about the 14-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 2.
The difference between an average offense and a really good offense is, can they turn drives like this into points? Points are way better than field goals because, honestly, a win for a defense is only giving up 3 points because you know your offense can stay within striking distance.
Well, and even if you give a field goal up here, if you're Hanover, you're still up by, or down only by 2 touchdowns. And a nice job by Ruperta as he rumbles through the line and picks up first down yardage. It'll be another 1st and 10 for Rose-Hulman. And they can pick up another first down without necessarily having to score, as the ball is going to be located at the 12-yard line.
Noah Caswell's presence has been felt inside, bottling up this run game. As we said, a little under 4 yards a carry for Ruperta coming into today, especially after last year going for 200+.
Robertson going to swing it out. Wide open is Ruperta. Heads for the corner. Touchdown, Fighting Engineers. And a flag thrown in the backfield. And that flag is going to be roughing the passer on Rose-Hulman, so it'll be touchdown good. And Rose-Hulman strikes right back.
That was just frustration. For Wall Jr., the defensive end, he hadn't quite got to the quarterback all day. Felt like he got held earlier in the game. He finally gets there, and instead of being smart and not taking an extra lick on Robertson, he actually does do it and cost his team a big-time penalty, forcing even closer distance to the touchdown.
Some confusion right now as far as what the call is, as I don't know that Rose-Hulman was completely certain whether the touchdown had been granted or not because they had their offense on the field. I think there was some confusion over the penalty call, but now the official reiterated, I guess the official actually pointed the wrong way, which led to some of the confusion, but he reiterates it was roughing the passer. It is a touchdown, so now we get the extra point attempt.
That offensive drive there was started by Jalen Hobbs. His ability to switch field position for the offense cannot be understated because he is the catalyst now for 2 touchdown drives because of what he's done on special teams.
Extra point is up and good. Rose-Hulman leads 37-20. We'll be back right after this.
From warehousing to transportation and everything in between, Piper Logistics does it all. Centrally located, Piper Logistics has 2 warehouses in Indianapolis and a warehouse in Cincinnati, Ohio. Piper Logistics houses over 1 million square feet. Along with our transportation department, we can provide service to half the United States markets.
We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, IndianaSRN. Hit the bell to get notifications for upcoming games and more. Watch as many games as you want, as many times as you want.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium. Short kickoff thanks to that personal foul on the roughing the passer, and that'll get lofted out of the end zone for a touchback. You can see here the end of that play with Ruperta as he was just left alone underneath. Receivers took the defenders into the end zone, and a really smart job by Miguel Robertson to drop it down to that level and give Ruperta some room to run.
I want to give some love to the camera work right here by Hanover. Saw the cameraman casually with his hands in his pockets. Saw Ruperta coming towards him. He just got out of the way so Ruperta could fall nice and easy. But a smooth and calm collector over there on that Hanover sideline.
If I saw Grant Ruperta coming right at me, I would want to get out of the way as quickly as possible. So first down for Hanover, who finds themselves back down by 3 scores and starting to run out of time. Completion here on first down. That's Hunter Eads, who's been a little quiet in this game. nicely defended by Rose-Hulman for most of it, but he'll pick up 9 yards on that.
There's a fine line between taking what the defense gives you and getting greedy with your eyes and not getting off your first target. There, Hunter Eads was open earlier in that play. Rudebush didn't get it to him right away, so instead of a bigger play, they only got 9 when they could have got 20+.
First down yardage gained there by Hanover with 2:51 remaining in this third quarter. And if you're Hanover, you don't want to abandon the run, but you're definitely going to have to start moving the ball down the field, as you are going to run out of possessions eventually to try to get back into this thing. First down throw over the middle, completed. Nice pass there. Jalen Peck, first down, and right at midfield now, Hanover gets another first down.
We've already seen in the second half what Jalen Peck does for this offense. When he and Rudebush get on the same page, it creates big plays as we see here. Once again, the point guy and a lot of these bunch sets flying across the middle. Rudebush finds him. Another big-time first down for this Panther offense.
A little bit of a stoppage here as we had a player go down to injury, but we'll keep it here as he's back up and walking off. That's Stephon Pugh, who's been around for a lot of important plays so far today. Had an important pass breakup earlier, and as we watch this replay again of the previous play, you can see a nice pass and catch there as Jalen Peck continues to find himself in open spaces against these zone coverages.
And I'm sure in the first half when you don't get the ball like Peck and you know that you were open because Rudebush missed him on a touchdown pass on the first drive. And so when you feel like you didn't even get an opportunity to make your mark on this game, I'm sure it's a welcome sight for he as the receiver, but also this offense that's rolling a little bit these last couple of drives.
So Rudebush takes the snap, airs it out down the field. He's got a man streaking, and a catch is made there. Michael Gordon, who we've seen do a little bit of magic on some kick returns, pulls that in, and it'll be 1st and goal for Hanover.
This is when the game becomes easier for Rudebush. He has options to go to, and he takes advantage of it. He could have gone to Peck again, but instead he finds Gordon, who beat the defender once again on the back end of this play, creating another potential scoring play for this Panther offense.
Now swing out to Opal, and Opal going to be taken down nicely. What a nice tackle made there by Cameron Dorsey, the senior out of Baton Rouge, Illinois.
Cameron Dorsey, also a member of the track and field team, so he's always going to have lightning speed to get to the spot, so not a lot of ball carriers can out-pursue him.
So it'll be 2nd and 10. They ended up saying that Gordon was down at about the 13-yard line, so still possible for Hanover to pick up a first down without getting it into the end zone. Clock running. Rudebush tosses it towards Opal, but he overthrows him, and some nice defensive pressure being applied there by Marshall Cook.
Has to be understood, no matter what happens here, it's still going to be a 2-possession game. And so the most important thing is to get points. You don't want to come up empty-handed.
So 3rd and 12. And Hanover trying to figure out what formation they want to use on this play. Play clock under 10. Rudebush sets a man in motion. Snap. Pressure, and Rudebush is going to get stripped, and it's going to be picked up, I believe, by Hanover. They did indeed fall on it, and really heads-up play there by Jacob Muchler, the senior right tackle, as he fell on that ball. But Rudebush just holding on to it a little too long, and you can see here just a great job of getting pressure and making a big play there by Ryan Schmidt, the strong safety.
I want everyone to pay attention to Muchler's sense of urgency to jump on that ball. That should almost be a touchdown for offensive linemen because it saves, more times than not, catastrophic plays, giving the ball back to the other team. As I said earlier, you don't want to come up empty-handed. That could be the key to the game for the Panthers.
Paichow out here to attempt a really long field goal for him. He gets it up, and it is no good. Missed it left. So Rose-Hulman gives up a big pass play and then holds nearly gets the strip sack fumble recovery, but they are able to keep Hanover off the board there as that field goal drifts harmlessly to the left. And you can see here a replay of that strip sack, and again, one of those situations where you start to feel yourself down. You got to cover the ball up a little more, but in that situation, really hard to do given the amount of pressure that was coming in on that blind side.
The other part of that drive, particularly on that play, Jalen Peck was in the back of the end zone on another corner route. We saw Hanover take advantage with Michael Gordon getting a touchdown via a corner route. That time not able to connect because of the pressure on Rudabush.
First down, snap here, and a run by Jay Smith. A little extracurricular after the play, but no flag. So Rose-Hulman will get things reset. But as the clock continues to wind, that will almost certainly be the end of the third quarter of play. And we will go ahead and take a break. Rose-Hulman leads 37-20. Back with the final frame right after this. Welcome back for the fourth quarter of play here at Cook Stadium, Terre Haute, Indiana. Galen Clavio and Jared Thomas joining you here on the call. Just a reminder, big Saturday of action next week here on your television coverage for HCAC action. Manchester at Franklin at 1:30 in football. Volleyball, Bluffton at Rose-Hulman at 4 p.m. And then still to be determined, both the men's and the women's soccer conference championships. All of that coming up next weekend. We're really looking forward to it. Snap here on second down and a couple of yards gained. It'll be a third and about 5 there as Jay Smith not finding the daylight he was hoping for on that one.
This is a game for Hanover where I feel they have beat themselves a little bit. A couple of turnovers, one that didn't hurt them too bad, but the costly fumble before the half that turned into points for the Fighting Engineers. And then in the third quarter, they had an opportunity to get off of the field defensively, did not do that. That led to points for Rose-Hulman. And then the missed field goal at the end, which could have been huge to keep this game within a 2-score distance. They did not. So those are 3 to 4 plays that they don't come up with and ultimately has been the difference in the game.
Robertson pressured. He gets out of it, but then it's knocked down. And a nice job by Hanover's defense. They finally get some consistent pressure on Robertson, and that's going to force a punt.
That is one way that you can get a cool and calm, collected quarterback like Robertson flustered a little bit, is when you put that pressure on him, it speeds up his decision-making, and it forces almost an interception by David Wall there. He's killing himself right now because he knows if he just brings his other hand with the one that batted the ball down, he might have been walking into the end zone.
So punt coming here for Rose-Hulman. Toller puts his foot into it. Pretty good punt. It'll bounce at about the 34 and will be down at the 35-yard line. And so Hanover will take over there. So Panthers are going to get the ball back here, and as we mentioned earlier, they're starting to run out of time. 3 possessions down 37-20. And obviously that field goal would have been really helpful as it would have made it a 2-possession game on the last drive. But you've still got some time. You can score in bunches. And the vertical passing attack that they've started to show feels like they might be able to leverage that a bit more.
But with time not on their side, they have to move with a bit of an urgency, because if not, you may run out of gas and also may run out of game clock to even mount this comeback.
Rodebush going to air this one out down the field, and it is off the hands of Hunter Eads. Nice job on the pass defense there, but Eads probably should have brought that one in.
There's two guys in the defensive backfield for the Fighting Engineers that head up the pass breakup statistical category. Number 1 is Wyatt Bell. Number 2 is Cameron Dorsey, one that we talked about that has that track speed, a member of the track team we saw there. He put on the seatbelt, strapping Hunter Eads in for a car seat ride that he's got on that first down stop.
So 2nd and 10. Rodebush will toss this off to the sideline and completed, and a first down picked up by Mason Williams. And Hanover continues to move. One of the challenges with the freshman quarterbacks is you're calling plays in on every play. When you really need to move and you're still trying to get the play in each time, you don't have the ability to read the defense that you would normally.
And some of that stuff comes with experience, as you said. So being a young guy, these are valuable lessons because this program is going to be in good hands when it's his turn to take over at the quarterback spot.
Almost picked off. That one drops out of the hands of Stephon Pugh. He's got to be beating himself up about that one a little bit, as that was not a well-placed throw by Rodebush.
This is a Hanover team that has found success under Coach Theobald. They won 3 consecutive HCAC titles from fall of 2018 to spring 21 when that COVID season back in 2020 was canceled. But in order to get there, you need big-time playmakers. I know their quarterback from a season or 2 ago, Matthew Weimer, is now playing in the German Football League. So it's important to have quarterbacks that lead your program because those lead to wins.
Rodebush tried to air it out down the middle. He was looking for Jalen Peck, but Peck got disrupted a little bit there, either on a bump or just a pull-up, and that falls harmlessly to the turf. So that'll leave a 3rd and long for Hanover. And Rose-Hulman would love to stymie another Hanover attempt here. So 2 wide receivers split off to the near side. Shotgun formation. Pressure. Rodebush going to be taken down. Sacked by Rose-Hulman's number 7. Cameron Dorsey getting into the backfield on the cornerback blitz. And not what Hanover was looking for, but a great play by the Fighting Engineers.
All game today, they've just done a good job of putting consistent pressure in timely situations. That was very timely because on the 3rd down and long, with a chance to go out down and get some points, this defense for the Fighting Engineers comes up with another big stop.
Punt coming here for Hanover. Wobbler fielded at the 16. And here's Hobbs trying to get ahead of steam. Comes all the way across the field. Now he's got a lane down the right side. Cuts back. Gets in the way of his blocker. Now he's free. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Fighting Engineers.
All I can really do is laugh because when you're so fast, it doesn't matter what you do. He has a defender run into one of his blockers, and then he directs the way for a blocker to go one way, runs into the same defender, pinballs off, and then takes it the rest of the distance. Watch him here. Watch the blocker here just get in the defender's way. Boom, right there. Does a great job of just staying in the way, not a block in the back. Then he's going to cross field, pinballs off of him, a little bit of misdirection, and then when you're track fast, you just take it the rest of the way. It's so easy for Hobbs. I know it's not easy because I'm a big guy, and when I think about running, it's a lot harder, but he makes it look so easy.
Extra point is up and good. There is a flag on the field, so we'll keep it here. I think the most impressive thing about that touchdown return, not just the speed, the acceleration, to run into your blocker and almost come to a standstill, and then to get back up to speed and outrun a relatively fast Hanover player is really, really impressive stuff. So Jalen Hobbs just continues to impress. He's been perhaps the most impressive player on this entire Rose-Hulman offensive roster this season, but that is saying something given how many people have contributed well throughout the course of the year.
There's a reason that he's the first 2-sport All-American in school history. He makes big-time plays like he does there on special teams. That's a part of the game that sometimes is not interesting to those wanting to contribute to a football team. And then he steps out later in the year, gets on the track, and does the same exact thing, just in a different uniform.
So Hanover in a world of hurt here in terms of this game, now down 24 points. Although it's interesting, you let a touchdown and an extra point up, and you're still only down 3 possessions technically. because you could have 3 touchdowns and 3 2-point conversions and tie it. Seems unlikely with as well Rose-Hulman is playing right now, but you're still down the same number of possessions at this stage.
It has to feel a lot more daunting than to look up at the scoreboard and understand that you are down by 3 scores, but it could be a lot worse because you spotted them a lot of points and a lot of possessions.
Kickoff, and this is going to bounce out of bounds. So that'll give Hanover some pretty good field position to get things started here. Just a reminder, at 7 o'clock this evening, we'll have women's soccer action here from Rose-Hulman on RHIT.TV. The men's game just started about 20 minutes ago, so you can find that elsewhere. Maybe open a second browser window if you're interested. But keep it here as we continue to bring you Rose-Hulman football action against Hanover in this HCAC conference game. Rose-Hulman trying to clinch a spot in the conference championship game. A couple of games left on the schedule for Rose-Hulman. They travel to Defiance next weekend, and then, of course, they host Mount St. Joseph here on the 11th of November, a 1:30 p.m. kick for that one. Rodebush going to start this drive off with a pass completion over the middle and another big hit there, this time on Jalen Peck, but he maintains possession. It'll be about a 6-yard gain.
And that's the for sure tackler, Adam Field, coming from the safety position. I looked up just a few seconds ago like, man, I haven't heard his name called. And he said, don't speak too soon, Jared. I'm inviting myself to the party.
Rodebush going to air this one out towards Peck. He grabs it, and he tried to turn around to head upfield, but his momentum took him out of bounds. Still, nice toss and catch there, and they're into Rose-Hulman territory.
It's all about what you do in adversity and how you respond to it. That once again shows you about your team. So I don't see any quit from Coach Theobald's Hanover Panthers, and that could create some good fortune as they go into the rest of this game.
Now Rodebush, again, on the left side here, but that pass falls short. Was trying to hit Peck once again.
And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the missing piece in this offense for Hanover with quarterback Colton Richards out right now. This is a guy that controls the game at all times, a true pocket passer, almost feels like a point guard on a basketball team that gets everyone in the right place at the right time and makes timely decisions to put his team in the most advantageous positions.
Rodebush flips this one, and it's pulled in out of nowhere and rumbling for first down yardage. That is pulled in by Don Dunning, the sophomore out of Nashville, Tennessee. And I don't know how he got this one off, Jared. I mean, you look at the death grip that Rose-Hulman had on him, and somehow he flips it out, almost was down, and he just found Dunning in exactly the right position.
The biggest thing that he did there was straighten his legs as he felt himself going down to the ground. That forbids his knees from hitting the ground and getting called down before he was able to flick it to Dunning.
That pass in the vicinity of Hunter Eads, and a nice job on the breakup there. A flag is going to be thrown, and a sideline warning, I think, going to be called here on Hanover. They were not happy at the lack of a flag on that attempt to Eads. So I think this is just going to be a warning as opposed to a walk-off. No. They're going to call an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Hanover's coaching staff. So maybe some magic words used there on that lack of a call. And that's a really, really painful penalty for Hanover to take, as they're going to be facing a 2nd and 25 now. So you don't even get the benefit of the down do-over there. That's a dead ball foul.
That just encompasses what has happened today for Hanover, not making the plays necessary when they've presented themselves, and even showing some frustration from the coaches.
Rodebush going to air this one out. He's got a man streaking, but he overthrows him, just barely out of the reach there. And that was intended for Brian Shelby, the freshman out of Indianapolis, and it's going to be 3rd and 25. I'm a little concerned if I'm Rose-Hulman, as I keep getting tested deep, and if the passes are a little more on target, those are completions.
I talked about it a little bit earlier in the game, but game 1 this year for the Fighting Engineers against DePaul, they gave up 535 yards defensively. And then going to game number 3 against Albion, and they give up 456 yards defensively. So as a defense, you have given up some yards. You just have to thank your buddies on offense because they keep you in games with the way they attack opposing defenses.
Some yards picked up there by Hanover as that one gets tossed over to a new face in the game, that being Gerson Karoa, the freshman out of Indian Creek High School near Columbus. They needed those yards as now they've got a slightly more manageable 4th down, and with 10:38 to go in the game, down by 24, you got to go for it here. Rodebush takes the snap. Pressure coming from Rose-Hulman on the blitz. Pass down the middle to Rodebush. Touchdown, Hanover. He outfights him in the air, and Eric Rodebush, the senior, pulls that one in over Adam Field. A huge play. Another Rodebush to Rodebush connection.
It just works really well. Jalen Hobbs, Miguel Robertson, Daniel Hury, they find themselves all the time. The Rodebush brothers have done the same thing. And even on that particular route, Eric throws his hand up well before the ball was even thrown because he's telling his brother, his little brother, hey, I'm open, so just throw it up and allow me to go get it.
Hanover going to have to go for 2 here, and some subs coming in at the last second as Rose-Hulman's a little confused about who should be on the field. Trotting in to take position there, and now a timeout going to be called here by Hanover. The Hanover coaching staff not happy about something. I'm not sure if it was a clock reset or something else, but timeout going to be called as they don't want to lose the yardage. Kind of interesting. I think part of the issue here, and Jared, this is something we've seen a lot in college football in general, the substitution rules about when you can bring players in and the defense being allowed to sub. We saw this in one of the USC games that they lost recently, where their opposition was doing a great job of stalling it out and forcing delay of games or forcing quick snaps. Kind of a similar thing happens there, leads to a timeout.
But the key is sometimes you get caught up in assumptions, and after a scoring play, you just assume that the field goal unit is coming on. So defensively, you start running guys on or running guys off. But what really the rule is, the defense should be able to match the substitution pattern. So if an offense doesn't go off the field and don't substitute, the defense can't do anything about that. So I understand the frustration from Coach Theobald and his staff.
So Hanover will come back out, ball spotted on the left hash, and if they convert this, they're still, at that point, they're 2 possessions down, 2 full possessions down. You don't convert it, you're still 3 possessions down. They'll split 3 wide receivers off to the right. And the freshman, Ian Rodebush, going to take the snap and roll to the right. He'll put his foot in the ground, and now the ball's knocked away. Picked up by, no, still on the ground. And that try is no good. And some celebrations here on the Hanover sideline as they did a really nice job of sniffing out that play. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with more. Welcome back to Cook Stadium. Rose-Hulman leading 44-26 over Hanover. Chances of an onside kick here, perhaps?
Maybe a little too early to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see some type of trickery to get it into that open void right there that you see between the second, third, and return units and the distance between them.
Well, different kicker out here on this for Hanover, maybe just to make them think, and it's going to be a squib kick that bounces, and Hobbs picks it up at about the 15-yard line. He'll stretch out the return defenders and then tackled out of bounds, and looks like a flag down at the 26. Here's the replay on the touchdown. What do you see on this completion?
I saw Eric throw his hand up well before he even got to the top of his route because he knows I have this DB Adam Field outflanked. Little brother, just throw it up to me and I can do the rest. And even pinned it against his shoulder pad and his helmet to haul in that touchdown.
Flag on the kickoff return was actually on Rose-Hulman, which the crowd did not want. They were pretty convinced that was going to be a late hit out of bounds, but it was instead on Rose-Hulman. So this will get marched off back from the 26, a 10-yarder on an illegal block. So Rose-Hulman will start from there. This is where you would expect Rose-Hulman to largely keep the ball on the ground. They've not had as much success on the ground in this game as in past games. You can see here's another replay of the end of the catch there on that touchdown. Really nice job by Eric Rudebush to bring that one in. Handoff on the first play here to, I believe, Grant Ruperta. Yes, back in the game, and he'll pick up 5. If you can pick up 5 a play running the ball, you will do that at this point, as you don't really need to score again if you're Rose-Hulman.
There's a reason that the Rose-Hulman offense is so efficient, because they don't find themselves in 3rd and longs very often. The reason why? Because they find a way to be effective on 1st and 2nd down. Sometimes 2nd down doesn't even lead to 3rd down, it leads to another 1st down. So for the Hanover defense, they have to find a way to stop them on 1st and 2nd down and live with whatever happens on 3rd.
So Robertson, deliberate in taking this snap, and he'll just hand it right back off to Grant Ruperta, and he'll rumble forward and pick up 1st down yardage. It took almost the entire play clock, and they will get a 1st down on the ground. And once this ball is spotted, which it is, the game clock will start up again. Under 9 minutes coming up here at the end of this particular play clock sequence, and Robertson again in no hurry bringing this play in from the sideline.
No need to be in a rush. Up by 3 scores. Have an opportunity to eat up a lot of this game clock, taking down the play clock all the way down to the last second. You're in control of this game, Mr. Robertson.
Another handoff to Ruperta, and he'll be taken down after a couple of yards. And this is where, if you're Hanover, you're just going to have to stack the box and commit to stopping the run, even if it exposes you a little bit in the passing game, because otherwise Rose-Hulman's just going to keep running the ball and you're going to run out of time.
It's all about high risk, high reward. You got to give up something, as you said. So in these first couple of 1st and 2nd downs, yeah, you want to load the box, but you also want to have good eye discipline in the back end, because you don't want to give up big-time plays, because that would just only extend this lead even more.
Ruperta with 97 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Very close to breaking that 100-yard mark, and he has certainly been the featured back so far of the 2. 25 carries for Ruperta, only 11 for Jay Smith in this game thus far. Another handoff for Ruperta. And clearly over the century mark now. And the clock ticks down under 8 minutes.
I'm all aboard the Grant Ruperta going for 1,000 yards this season train. I think he can do it. He's got 2 games left. Got 100 yards and counting here today, so that leaves him a little under 200 yards to work with as he heads into the home stretch of their season.
And they're going to need big games out of him in these last 2, especially that last game at home against Mount St. Joseph. Tight formation here for Rose-Hulman. They'll move almost all the time off the clock. Ruperta gets it, butts it off to the left, puts his head down, another 1st down, but a flag is down. And we'll see what the call is here. I'm guessing this is going to be a hold on Rose-Hulman. Looks like that's the signal from the officials. Well, you don't want that. If you're Rose-Hulman, you want to keep that clock moving and not move backwards yardage-wise.
This is the only tough part in offensive run games, when running backs bounce the ball outside. Offensive linemen and even tight ends in the blocking scheme expect the ball to go to a certain path, and when it doesn't, you get caught with your hands outside of the framework of your body, making it easy for the official to call the holding.
I think that actually was a flag that was whistled on Daniel Hury which would fit into your theory as if you're a receiver out there blocking on the edge, you're not expecting the running back to come your direction.
Exactly.
So it's 3rd down and 10, and now Rose-Hulman may have to put it in the air. They will indeed. Here's Robertson, uncorks one towards Green, and it is knocked away nicely there. Good pass breakup by Hanover, and that was number 23 for Hanover. Owen Anderson. Check that. That was Garon Jenkins again. Jenkins listed as a linebacker, but has been playing a lot of corner-related items or safety-related items. Did a good job as it had the tackle earlier on in the game and the interception. And another pass breakup here. So a 4th down and a punt coming from the Fighting Engineers. And that punt almost blocked. Somehow goes through the arms of the penetrating Hanover player and then touched at about the 35. I think that's where they'll give Hanover the ball.
I was going to say, I don't know about that spot. It was initially touched around the 35-yard line. As we see here, sometimes these punters take a little bit too much time. We don't have all of that time to get that ball off, but he just gets it off. The preseason All-American in Toller.
They are going to bring that ball up to where we saw that contact with the ball happen, so the 36-yard line. And just so people at home who aren't aware are aware, the kicking team, wherever they contact, essentially that's where the spot's going to be. Sometimes you'll occasionally see the kicking team will contact the ball. The receiving team will then pick it up and run with it, knowing that they could fumble, do whatever, and it'll always go back to that spot. Rudebush is going to get sacked. He's brought down, a delayed blitz coming in there, and Rose-Hulman with another big play. That just a delayed pressure there, and I don't think that anybody expected Marshall Cook to come that late, but you can see sitting back and then deciding as the coverage had gone by him that he had a chance at the quarterback and does a great job of just closing ground very quickly.
Rudebush just too indecisive on where he wanted to go with the ball. And then we see Cook just making another defensive play, getting another stat padding play to his name for today.
Rudebush to Peck there as he dropped the snap, picked it back up, and did a good job of sighting his receiver. So Pugh on the pass defense there, forced out of bounds, and now quick stoppage of the clock, and now back going again. Under 6 minutes here, 3rd down and 3, and Hanover still with a chance to score again here. Now they're going to back out and get the play call in. Rose-Hulman dropping essentially 8 back in coverage. They've only been rushing 3 on most of these pass plays. They will blitz, though, and Rudebush saw that coming, and he carries it for a 1st down. Smart play as Wyatt Bell, the freshman, had threatened the blitz earlier and ends up coming in untouched off the right side, but a good job by Rudebush to avoid.
He tried to bluff on the blitz and tried to get back to coverage, but made it very obvious on the second time that he was coming. Pointed out by Eric Rudebush, and Ian did the rest on the run play.
Ball is tossed out here to the side, and a nice job of rumbling for some yardage there by Don Dunning, the sophomore. So 2nd down and about 4.
At this point in the game, as I mentioned earlier today, at the start of the broadcast, I love the poise that Hanover was operating with, but now poise is out the window. You have to operate with a little bit of quickness and haste about you because time is ticking.
Rudebush had Jalen Peck, and it just slides through his hands, and you'll give him the mulligan on that one as Peck has pulled in a lot of really difficult passes so far on the game.
He's gotten a lot of opportunities, some like that one, a drop pass, or the ball was a little too high, or the ball sailed over his head. He's going to find himself open as they go into the rest of the season, so Hanover has to take advantage of those because they've been there today.
So 3rd down and 4. Rose-Hulman trying to put a cap on this one if they can. Rudebush drops back. A little bit of pressure here. Now moves forward looking for 1st down yardage. Avoids a couple of tacklers, and he'll pick up another 1st down with his feet. So Rudebush doing a nice job of using his legs to scramble, and he keeps this drive alive for Hanover. Pass complete over the middle. Rudebush able to find Hunter Eads, and then a flag behind the play as some tangling going on back there between Bryce Shepard, the sophomore offensive lineman, and I believe Jakey Ovanik. And this is going to come back. I think a penalty going to be called on the sophomore. Yeah, holding indeed on Bryce Shepard. And so that'll bring it back. It'll be 1st and 20.
Bryce Shepard, only 5'11", 230 pounds. The lightest guy on this offensive line. That was someone that I thought would be an imprint on this game offensively, because in their run game, they do a lot of runs to the right, and Shepard would come around with his athleticism, doing some pulling, using his smaller frame. But he's also done some great things in pass too, so unfortunate penalty for him, but he's done a great job today.
Screen pass, tossed off, and snipped out really nicely by Rose-Hulman as coming out of the backfield there, hoping to find some room to run there was Jeremy Gettelfinger, but Rose-Hulman was having none of it on that one. Quick score update from elsewhere. Defiance knocks off Manchester. Manchester was leading that one at half. Also, don't have a final on this, but Mount St. Joseph in the third was up 41-0 on Franklin. Here's a nice completion and lots of room to run, and all the way into the end zone. Touchdown, Hanover. Finding Kerbrian Shelby on the throw there was Rodebush, and Hanover back on the scoreboard once again.
There's a lot of speed on the field right now on both sides at the wide receiver position. And as Shelby caught that pass, all it took was one move, made the defender miss, and then he took it the rest of the distance, moving a lot faster than everyone else in their pursuit, trying to get the ball carrier down.
So Hanover not out of it yet. They're going to go ahead and do the extra point attempt here to leave them down by 11 if they can knock this one home. Snap back, kick is up, and kick is good. We'll take a break and come back. 44-33, Rose-Hulman leads.
Your hauling or moving project has arrived, and College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving has you covered. Honest. Uniformed. Nice. Knowledgeable. Service. College Hunks Hauling, Junk, and Moving.
Can't get to a computer? Then we've got you covered. Just go to the IndianaSRN app and stay up to date with all of your favorite teams. You can watch live coverage or relive the experience with our on-demand service.
Welcome back to Cook Stadium here in Terre Haute, Indiana. Happy to be joining you folks for the closing minutes of this contest. Rose-Hulman and Hanover. Rose-Hulman's had a 24-point lead whittled down to 11 as Hanover is not ready to walk away from this game quite yet.
You asked me on the previous kickoff, was that the time for an onside kick? I think this is a good time to do it, because if you can steal a possession, get a quick score, either a field goal, most likely a field goal, but maybe a touchdown, then you can kind of play the clock game a little bit, knowing that your offense is going to take a little bit more time off the clock, so that'll present an opportunity at the end of the game to go on a game-winning drive.
Down 2 possessions here with 3:38 to go. You're going to have to find an extra possession somewhere, as you pointed out. So we'll see what Hanover can do, as they're definitely in onside kick mode. This is going to get popped and in the hands and still on the ground. I think finally covered by Rose-Hulman. They indeed did cover that ball. Here's a replay of that touchdown on that last play.
Shelby, the receiver here, that's all he needed, was the move just outside. He caught the ball. Defender misjudged the tackle point. Shelby spun out of it and took it the rest of the distance. Must be nice when you're a receiver and you can make one guy miss and then just outrun the rest of the defense. Very nice play from Shelby.
The freshman, 5'8", 155, kind of in the physical mold of Daniel Hury and Jalen Hobbs, that same level of player, very fast. We see Jalen Peck, obviously, also on this Hanover team of that same build. And hard to catch those guys. If they can get the ball in space, you can't make the tackle quite as easily.
And for a long time, the possession receiver on football teams was a bigger guy that was physical, could go over the top of defenders and catch the ball. Now we see guys that are a lot speedier and can take the top off of defenses because those guys are a lot harder to tackle and can change the complexity of the game at any moment's notice.
Really nice run there by Grant Ruperta as he continues to pad his stats in this one, and another first down for Rose-Hulman, and that was a difficult one for Hanover as they really need to turn the ball over here and get it back.
And at some point for Coach Theobald, those timeouts are definitely going to have to be expensed because if not, then time is just going to get away from you and you won't have enough time, especially in a game where you need 2 more offensive possessions.
And they had to burn one of the timeouts on that 2-point conversion that did not happen. So another run here by Ruperta and picks up another 4 to 5 yards. So Rose-Hulman continuing to run the clock down, under 3 minutes now. Rose-Hulman trying to extend their winning streak to 5. And Robertson with the play call. He comes back in from the sideline, and he'll take this as close to 0 on the play clock as he can. Another handoff to Ruperta. Mr. Surehands will rush this one up to the 31, and now a timeout as Hanover waiting for just the right moment. And they will be defending a 3rd down and 4 here. So with both of these teams, obviously, Rose-Hulman just trying to salt this one away. You just got to make a stop here, obviously, if you're Hanover, and you probably have to make 2 because you're a little outside of field goal attempt range here for Rose-Hulman.
The cards are definitely stacked against this Hanover defense. A lot of things going on. This is why it's so important when plays are presented to you throughout the course of a game, you have to make them, because if you don't, they compound over time, and you get in a position like this where so many things have to go right for you to even stay within striking distance.
Just a reminder, folks, tune in next Saturday for a huge day of HCAC athletics action. Starting off at 1:30 p.m., Manchester at Franklin in football. At 4 o'clock, we'll have Bluffton at Rose-Hulman in volleyball. And then to be determined, both the men's and the women's soccer championships for the conference at some point throughout the course of that day. Be sure to check in on the website for more details. heartlandconf.org to find out those times. 3rd and 4, here's the handoff to Ruperta, and he goes lateral, which is a little surprising, and he's going to be taken down well behind the line of scrimmage. Loses about 4 yards and a timeout by Hanover. That's exactly what the Panthers would have hoped for there.
There's 2 reasons why that wasn't very smart by Ruperta. Number 1, you take yourself even further out of field goal range. Number 2, it does not help the campaign of this 1,000-yard rushing season that I need him to have at this point.
I'm sure if he had known that that was what he needed to be thinking about, he wouldn't have done that. I do wonder if that was a designed call to try to bounce it outside, or if Ruperta did that on his own, looking at what the situation looked like on the line. Regardless, Rose-Hulman in an interesting spot, 4th and 9. Do you go for it here? They are going to bring the offense back on the field. I'm wondering, you're up by 11. You got 2 minutes to go. You might want to think about punting it. The worst that can happen there, other than a block, of course, which we're going to remove from the equation, is that you pin Hanover deep and make them go the length of the field, and even then they'd need a second score.
And if you go with that strategy, it doesn't necessarily have to be a punt. It could even be a ball, throwing it up to your guys, seeing who comes down with it, because in an interception, it almost goes as a punt.
Robertson going to drop back on this 4th and 9, pressured, and he's going to get sacked at midfield. Hanover with some tremendous pressure coming in on that play off the side. David Wall, who we've talked about a couple of times in the backfield. Aiden Yoakum back there as well. And that's about as a worst-case scenario as you can get for Rose-Hulman.
This is why I don't know if I like the 3rd down call to kind of go out laterally on that run play by Ruperta, to put yourself in that position to potentially almost give up a sack fumble, which could have maybe gone the distance. Nonetheless, Big time play by David Wall Jr. for that Hanover team, getting another sack, adding to that sack total up to 7.5 for the season.
Hanover down 11. They'll get a 1st and 10 here. Now here's Rudebush. Going to scramble to his right, and he'll keep it himself. Going to head out of bounds smartly and cross midfield, 49-yard line. Well, Hanover's still up against the odds here as they have 0 timeouts remaining, and they're down 11, so they need 2 scores. But you're in a pretty good spot here if you can get the ball down the field quickly and score a touchdown.
And even a step past that, you just put your team, if I'm Coach Sokol, in a compromised position to feel like they're reeling a little bit on defense to get a stop, and then if they give up a touchdown, to go do it again if they get it on an onside kick.
Rodebush finds Eads, and he'll dodge out of bounds for the 1st down. And now Hanover at the 34-yard line to Rose-Hulman. The clock stops once again.
We've been hammering the Rudebush connection, but honestly, Hunter Eads is the leading receiver for this Panther team. Coming into today, 466 yards, 6 touchdowns. He scores touchdowns in pairs. 3 different games this year where he's scored 2 touchdowns, so he's getting a little loved as this game winds down.
Rudebush going to safety valve this one, and rumbling free and heading down the field for a pretty nice gain there, again, is Don Dunning, who was really quiet for about the first 2.5 quarters of the game, but has made several key plays for Hanover in the second half of the second half.
I'm a firm believer that you play to win games. When you play not to lose, you leave the game in the balance and up to chance, and things like this happen.
Minute 40 remaining. Clock is stopped. Rudebush facing a little bit of pressure, and he will scramble. He'll pick up yardage to the 15, to the 10, and he'll get out of bounds right around there. Well, clearly Rose-Hulman in a bit of a prevent here as they're just trying to stop the touchdown, but it's only taken Hanover 30 seconds to make it from midfield down to the 10-yard line.
Well, the tough part is they're trying to defend the end zone, which compromises the sideline, which is what Rose-Hulman also needs to defend, because if Hanover gets to the sideline, they can stop the clock when they don't have any timeouts. Once again, just being in a compromised positions, you can't do one because you give up the other, and neither are great or ideal.
Rudebush takes the snap, and he'll toss it off to Dunning. Dunning powers his way out of bounds at the 4-yard line, and it'll be a 2nd down and about 2, about a 9-yard gain there. Minute 26, clock stops yet again. We had a really fast-paced game going early on, and it's definitely slowed down a bit here, but the drama has built. Ian Rodebush, the freshman, had to take over last week due to an injury to Colton Richard, the starting quarterback. Snap, and they'll hand it off. And Dunning rumbling towards the goal line. I think certainly stopped before that, but might have gotten 1st down yardage. Now they're going to say no. So clock continues to run. And now the clock going to stop. Official timeout. And we get the ball was kicked around, so I'm going to stop the clock signal there, and now it'll get started yet again. So Hanover, with the clock running, takes this snap with a minute to play. Now a roll out by Rodebush, and he'll toss it. Touchdown, Hanover, finding Jalen Peck in the near corner of the end zone.
This one they capitalize on. The one earlier in the game, Rodebush just threw the ball a little bit too far, and Peck couldn't haul it in earlier in the game. This time, they capitalize, and now we have ourselves a game.
55 seconds remaining, and it's a 5-point game. At one point, Rose-Hulman led by 24. Hanover with a chance here, if they can convert this 2-point conversion, to get it back to a field goal. And substitution coming off the field here, and again, the clock winding. They're going to have to snap this real fast, and the play clock expired as another late substitution, and a delay of game going to get called on Hanover. And again, a little bit of a late sub on the offense, and they're able to take advantage of it on the defensive side.
Once again, when you have substitutions go on the offensive side of the ball, the defenders have a chance to match the substitution. But the thing that so many people have found a loophole in is the defenders can then be slow to run on the field because they know that play clock is going down. And so that's just poor substitution patterns by Hanover, because I don't blame Rose-Hulman. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, forcing a delay of game, extending this 2-point conversion.
It's an interesting loophole, and there's not really a great way to close the loophole while also maintaining any sort of pace of play. We see it at the Division I level as much as we see it here at the D3 level too. So Rodebush and another whistle, and I think a timeout by Rose-Hulman indeed. We'll keep it here. Rose-Hulman obviously doesn't want to give up this 2-point conversion. Let's take a look at the touchdown on replay.
Just a simple mesh concept on the outside, rub routes, receivers getting in the way of defenders, but then turning around and showing their hands to not be as if they're blockers. Watch them here. You see Eads right there turn around and look at the quarterback, Rodebush, and turn into a receiver, because you don't want to turn into a blocker, because that would be an illegal pick. They don't do that. They execute, and then they get the touchdown. But back to the substitution point and your question of how do you even close the loophole? Well, offensively, as a team, you run plays with all personnel, so you don't have to substitute. Therefore, the defense can't even run out and match your substitution, which forces them to eventually call a timeout, as we saw Coach Sokol do.
This 2-point conversion, an interesting one. It doesn't really matter for Hanover, as ultimately you're probably going to need to score a touchdown on the next drive. You can't really count on a field goal to tie the game up necessarily unless you get really close. It'd be nice to have that cushion. For Rose-Hulman, clearly they just want to make it so that Hanover has to score a touchdown. So we'll see what happens with this one as Hanover comes back out. Empty backfield, 5 wideouts, 3 to the near side. And they can take some time on this pre-snap and get the read in from the sideline. Rodebush fakes the pass, now tosses it in the end zone, and it's picked off. It'll officially be an incompletion, as they don't really have interceptions in these circumstances, but whether or not that was an incompletion or an interception, it is a no-good 2-point try, and we'll see another onside kick coming up. We'll keep it here. We can see the replay on this one.
Defensive player of the game, and this one has to be between Stephon Pugh or Marshall Cook. They both have found themselves affecting the game with deflections, with plays like that, which could be interceptions but not on 2-point conversions. But they've put their fighting engineer defenses in great positions in this game, and that's all a credit to their effort in this game.
See another shot at that, trying to find Hunter Eads, who's been, as we said, pretty quiet so far in this game. Little recap of statistics. Eric Rodebush, 408 yards throwing in this game, 31 of 54, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked 4 times. He certainly had kind of the full range experience in this game, as he's had some great moments and he's had some moments where he's struggled.
And in a game where he turns the ball over twice and misses a couple of receivers early in the game, a little bit in the second half, he could have very easily been over 500 yards if he was able to capitalize on all those missed opportunities.
So another onside kick attempt. Hanover tried one on the last kickoff, and Rose-Hulman covered. Can they do it again? Popped the opposite direction, and that will roll out of bounds. Well, that was probably not what they drew up on the sideline, and that's going to effectively end the game, as I think they were trying for a little bit of deception there, and instead of lightly kicking it the opposite direction, it got heavily kicked out of bounds, and that's Rose-Hulman's ball.
That was very anticlimactic.
I know. You're thinking, oh, it'll be a big scrum, ball's going to bounce all over the place. No, it just kind of went out of bounds there, but that'll effectively end things, as there's no timeouts left. Hanover will not be able to stop the clock, and we'll see Rose-Hulman get under center and run this thing out. Robertson will take that snap, and we'll have one more here before it officially ends.
And let me say this. I understand the logic, but not when that's the most important part of the game, the most important play of the game, because it decides the fate of your team who's trying to make a comeback. So,
well, we're not even totally sure who attempted that, as the kicker wearing number 49 not on the roster for this team. But might have just been a missed kick. Interesting idea, didn't work out. Hanover with a lot to be positive about as they make a big comeback and get this back to 5. But the victory belongs to the Rose-Hulman Fightin' Engineers as they pick up their 5th win in a row, their 5th HCAC win of the season. They clinch a spot in the conference championship game, and they knock off Hanover in this one by the score of 44-39. Overall thoughts?
I like this Rose-Hulman team for a couple different reasons. They figure out ways to win games, and they're very special offensively. Now, for this team to win a conference championship and also to make some noise in the Division III playoffs, if that is their fate, they have to clean up some things defensively. And if they can do that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks now, they've given up 28, 35, and now 39 points in the last 3 games. But they've won each of those games, and they put up 44 points and score 6 touchdowns, against a Hanover team that had only given up 16 touchdowns the entire season. You got to like that.
For Coach Sokol, I know that you're always wanting to prepare for the worst-case scenario. And what's been working so far is that their offense scores a lot of points and covers up the mistakes and allowing some of the highfalutin offenses to come up and put big-time yardage on his defense. But what you don't want to find yourself in is when it matters most later this season for your offense to not be clicking on all cylinders, and now you're depending on a defense that hasn't done it all year to pull through for you.
Rose-Hulman's football team finishes their post-game handshakes. They'll come over and do their customary singing to the fan section here. Another big win for Rose-Hulman, and not as comfortable as they would have liked, as they kind of let up on the gas a little bit there at the end of the second half. That's a great custom there to close things out. I was going to say, even though they did let up a little bit in the second half, you got to like the overall effort from Rose-Hulman on both sides of the ball. Miguel Robertson finishes 22 of 34, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jalen Hobbs all over the field, 6 catches, 115 yards, and then you have to add in, of course, the return for the touchdown. Grant Ruperta, 126 yards and 2 touchdowns, getting his way towards 1,000 yards just for you, my friend. And Daniel Hueri, 10 catches, 95 yards. That's about it. What else do we have to say about this game?
I was just going to say, as you look over to Hanover's sideline, obviously in every game there's winners and there's losers. I don't really see Hanover as losers. They were without their starting quarterback. A lot of things haven't gone their way in conference play, but they have a really good team. They just have to continue to build off of these losses and some of these experiences that they've seen this season and build the rest of the season and into the future.
They lost by 27 at home last year to Rose-Hulman. They only lose by 5 on the road this year. So clearly some good things building once again in Madison. That'll wrap it up for us. Just a reminder, folks, we've got Rose-Hulman women's soccer action at 7 o'clock tonight here on RHIT.TV. So please tune in for that. And again, reminder, next Saturday, a full day of HCAC action starting off at 1:30 with Manchester and Franklin playing football. My thanks to our entire crew for their excellent camera work and production work throughout the course of this contest. And Jared, again, a great job, and enjoyed doing the game with you as well.
Thank you, my friend.
For all the folks on the broadcast, I'm Galen Clavio saying thanks for joining us. Again, the final score here from Cook Stadium, Rose-Hulman 44, Hanover 39. We will catch you folks on the flip side. So long, everybody.